This podcast may contain disturbing content for some listeners. It's intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. This is True Crime XS.
This is Bardstown High School junior Cameron Williamson.
He was in basketball, he was in karate. He would do anything for anybody, even a stranger.
Police say the 17-year-old was shot and killed early Monday morning while sitting in the back seat of a car parked behind a strip of businesses.
The two individuals opened the door on the car. Two separate individuals opened the door on the car, fired one shot into the car, and then ran from the area.
Williamson wasn't alone in the car. Police say two people drove him to the spot where he was killed, and after the shooting, they took him to the 5-Star Service Center for help. His family members think it was a setup.
I believe he was probably persuaded or tricked into coming out of his home.
The two people in the car with him and surveillance video from area businesses helped detectives identify suspects and track them down nearly an hour away.
Testimony from the two witnesses led us to those two people in Taylor County, the Campbellsville area.
Williamson's family is heartbroken and says they'll never be the same.
It's wrong. You should not take it in your own hands and shoot somebody. Whether you're a kid, an adult, a situation like this, whatever it was over, could have been a better outcome instead of him being dead.
Police aren't commenting on any possible motive in this case. Right now, they're working to determine if this was, in fact, a setup like the family believes, or if this was a crime of opportunity. Now, as for the two people who are in custody, they haven't told us their names yet because they have not officially been booked and charged. And those two people who were in the car with the victim who drove him to the spot, police say, where he was killed, they are now the two other people of interest in this case. The chief tells us they're talking with detectives and could be arrested later today. Reporting live in Bardstown, I'm Carolyn Callahan, WLKY News.
Cameron Williamson's body is in Louisville for an autopsy. At this point, police have not given us a motive for the crime.
More than a month after police say several men beat up a 62-year-old man in a restaurant parking lot, arrests have been made.
And tonight, Bardstown police tell WLKY's Jessica O what likely sparked this fight. She joins us now with the story. Jessica?
Rick, police say the victim used a racial slur to describe these suspects who took serious offense and seriously assaulted that victim. The 3 young men have since been charged, and tonight one is still on the loose. This is DeAndre Douglas, and authorities in Bardstown say he's one of 3 guys responsible for attacking a man at this Bardstown huddle house in November.
They stated that some words were exchanged between the two parties and the fight broke out in the parking lot.
That fight left the 62-year-old victim, Joseph Hagan, with serious injuries, but police told us today his words likely started this argument.
He was using some derogatory terms, and that's what sparked the initial fight.
Those derogatory terms were racial slurs, and police say they were directed at these suspects who followed the victim outside and beat him up before running away. It wasn't until last week that authorities were able to arrest a couple of them. Martin Barber was arrested by Lebanon police. Then Officer Jason Ellis got a lucky break when he randomly pulled a car over with the other 2 suspects inside.
During the initial traffic stop, DeAndre actually bailed out as the car was still moving. I took my chances that Darian was in the car and got lucky, and he was.
The only person of the 3 suspects on the run right now, DeAndre Douglas, who police described as armed and dangerous. I'm Jessica O, WLKY News.
Thank you, Jessica. If you have any information on this case, you are asked to contact the Bardstown Police Department. Their number is on your screen. It's 502-348-6811.
We're just asking anybody whether they think it's important, whether it's just something they noticed and it could not be anything to them. It may be huge for us.
Monday, state police returned to the family farm where Tommy Ballard was killed. He was shot while hunting with his grandson shortly before 7 a.m. Saturday. He is the father of Crystal Rogers, missing since 2015. Police investigating his death are specifically looking for people who were driving on nearby Bluegrass Parkway. Between mile markers 21 and 25, between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m.
As far as the parked car or maybe somebody walking or anything that they don't usually see in the woods or anything that was just out of the ordinary.
Police are not saying if they know the direction from which the gunshot came. They ruled out a self-inflicted wound and say the grandson was not involved. They have not ruled out the possibility of another hunter's stray bullet. But Ballard family friend Kim Abel says nobody she knows believes it was an accident.
I feel like all the community is concerned with their safety. With all the unsolved murders.
In 2013, Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was fatally shot on a Bluegrass Parkway exit. Bardstown schoolteacher Kathy Netherland and her 16-year-old daughter Samantha were murdered in 2014, and Ballard made it his life's mission to find out what happened to his daughter. Police have named her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, as a suspect, but Houck has never been charged.
Maybe he'll get his answers now. I say he's with Crystal and he'll get his answers.
Earlier today, I reached out to the district attorney's office and the FBI to try and get my hands on the warrants that they're serving. Warrants contain probable cause, the information that points to why the police are searching and what they believe they're going to find. But the warrants in this case are sealed, so we're not going to be able to obtain them. And from our Sky 11 drone, federal and local law enforcement also searched the Houck family farm located out on Pascal Ballard Lane. You can see dozens of law enforcement vehicles parked on the property, a mystery that's been unsolved for 5 years. The farm plays an important part of the story because Brooks Houck told police he and Crystal were at the farm the night before he realized she was missing. This FBI investigation comes just 2 weeks after possible human remains were discovered in Nelson County. This is drone footage of the spot the FBI evidence team found those remains, but since then, there's been no word on the identity of those remains. The Ballard family tells us they haven't received any information either. Shay McAllister continues our team coverage with what this investigation means to Crystal's family.
For this family, it's been a long 5 years of waiting. I was able to spend some time with Sherry Ballard, Crystal Rogers' mom, this morning. She says she isn't ready to talk on camera, but it is important for her to tell us and to tell everyone at home just how thankful she is for all of the support and prayers. She says she feels like today she is closer to getting justice for Tommy Ballard, her husband, and Crystal Rogers, her daughter, than she ever has been before. And she's not alone in that thought. Members of Team Crystal, the group that has searched for Crystal right alongside Tommy before he was killed, says they think this could make the difference too.
It's not only Nelson County that's going to get justice today. It would be around the world.
The Ballard family says they are incredibly tired, and understandably so. It's been 2 weeks since human remains were found nearby, and for 2 weeks there have been no updates from the FBI. In Bardstown, I'm Shay McAllister.
Shay's been following this case since Rogers went missing in July of 2015. Early on, there were several developments in the case, but 4 months into the investigation, new information seemed to slow. Here's Shay McAllister with a look back at those first crucial months.
Crystal Rogers has been missing for 5 years. Her family has searched, prayed, and fought for answers.
I'm going to get those answers one day.
Last seen alive on July 3rd of 2015. Family says Rogers' cousin saw her walking out of Walmart, and then she spent the night with her boyfriend, Brooks Houck. Houck told police they were at his mom's farm, feeding the cows, and then they went home. He says he went to bed.
So you go to bed, she stays up. What's she doing?
She's just on her phone. Playing, I don't know what game, but she normally plays a game.
Right.
Some kind.
July 4th, one day after she is last seen alive, her family starts to worry. They say they can't get a hold of her. Her mom, Sherry Ballard, files a missing persons report at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. And on July 5th, the first big development. Someone spots Crystal's maroon Chevy sedan on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway. When her dad, Tommy Ballard, goes to see for himself, he finds her keys, phone, and purse inside.
If Crystal's out there and can see us, we're hunting for you.
Dozens of friends and family spent the rest of the day and night searching the highway and rural areas surrounding it. But family says Houck never offered to help.
He's had no emotion. It's like nothing's changed to him, and to us, our whole world has changed.
July 6th, the family announced a $25,000 reward in her case. The next day, July 7th, Brooks is brought into an interrogation room at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office, where he sits down with Detective Jonathan Snow. He explains when he woke up, the couple's baby, Eli, was in bed next to him, and Crystal was gone.
And so when you wake up, he's there, but Crystal's not.
She's not.
Okay. And so did you try to call her, or?
Yes, I noticed that she wasn't there, and I didn't know exactly what to think. I don't know what time I called her. Yes, I called her that morning.
The interview was interrupted by Houck's older brother, who at the time was a Bardstown police officer. Nick Houck telling his brother Brooks he should leave the interview, and he did. On July 10th, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office executes a search warrant at the Houck family farm, the last place Crystal was said to be alive.
This property is the last property that she was seen at, as far as we've been told.
Later that week, on July 15th, Brooks' brother Nick is interviewed by the Kentucky State Police. Detectives say they found bodily fluids in his vehicle. He says he can't explain why. For the next 3 months, the family continues to search, walking through woods, wading through water, determined to find the missing mother of 5, and waiting on word from police. Mid-October, local authorities dropped 3 major developments in the case. First, then Sheriff Ed Mattingly announces Crystal is officially presumed dead.
There's certain things that people do that, that when they exist on this earth, and she has vanished from earth. And I think it's safe to say that she's dead.
Then we learn Nick Houck has been fired from his job as a Bardstown police officer after the chief said he interfered with his brother's police interview.
I was less than impressed, was very bothered by some of the actions that were displayed.
Then, we learn Nick Houck has been fired from his job as a Bardstown police officer. Later that same day, in October of 2015, the sheriff declares he has his eye on one man in this case.
They're looking at one suspect and one suspect only. That's Rogers' live-in boyfriend, Brooks Houck.
But Brooks Houck is not arrested. He is not charged. These developments in the first 4 months of the case would be the most tangible as the wait continued for 5 more years.
Nelson County Sheriff Raymond Penaroa sent us a statement earlier today saying in part, "I would like to take the time today to thank our team at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office for all the work that they have put into the Crystal Rogers case over the last 5 years. Shortly after taking office, we began working with the FBI for support in this case. We've worked in partnership with them for the last 19 months. The FBI simply has resources that are not available to us." The FBI says you can help them solve this case. Louisville Special Agent Robert Brown wants the community to think back to July 3rd and 4th of 2015. Anyone with information on the case, no matter how small, can contact the FBI. They've created a $25,000 reward for information leading to Crystal, and you can call them at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, that's 1-800-225-5324. The FBI also created a website. You can anonymously post a tip to it. The website will also be updated with the latest information from their investigation. You can find a link to that site in this story on WHAS11.com. And you can get a link to that story sent directly to your phone. All you got to do is text us. Just send the word Bardstown to 502-582-7290. We'll send you back a link to our stories surrounding the Bardstown case.
Hello. Officer down, Bluefield Road.
He was a loving, caring man.
There's been a tree limb or something. Officer down, please emergency.
You know, he was a good cop, very active cop.
Ma'am, can you advise the status of the officer? Is he conscious?
I believe he's dead.
He loved you know, the boys and I, he was a family man. He was outgoing. He was fun. He was energetic. His personality was infectious. He was always the life of the party. And he was amazing.
A dedicated public servant, parent, and partner. Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis embodied all that was good.
My name is Rick McCubbin. I'm the retired police chief from Bardstown, Kentucky. Jason was he was a Chiefs cop. He was a great guy.
Working nights on the force with his canine partner Figo, Jason was a drug officer. But on May 25th, 2013, he was working alone.
Jason had opted to leave Figo home that night since he was not in his canine car and in just a pool car.
Like every other night, Jason responded to calls.
139 dispatch, the traffic stop.
He popped into his son's baseball game.
He got called away in the middle of the game, and we didn't get to say bye to him.
He took a suspect to jail, and then he signed off for the night, leaving the Bardstown Police Department around 2 a.m.
139 out of count.
Driving the dark and desolate Bluegrass Parkway, Jason was heading home. The officer took his typical route, winding around exit 34, seeing something up ahead, something in the road, something that would make the officer stop.
I've just got off work, and there was the police car is sitting in the middle of the road with the lights on.
And I said, what the hell happened?
We didn't know what it was. It's a tree across the road, and I didn't know what it was, and I got out, and I went up there and looked, and it's him.
It just feels like it's not real.
Okay, can you tell if he is breathing?
No, sir, he is not breathing. Body temperature is cold.
That voice, a distillery worker on his way home for the night. Passerbys were the first to find the assassinated officer and call for help. Tomorrow night at 6, we pick up right where we left off tonight, continuing this investigation as his brothers in blue rush to the scene and then his family gets the news. For the Unsolved team, I'm Shay McAllister.
Welcome to another summer episode of True Crime XS. As you can probably hear, we're looking at Bardstown, Kentucky, where summer events are developing rapidly to possibly close some missing persons cases and possibly some other crimes. This was not the episode I had been hoping to put out. I was hoping to put out an episode about one of the unsolved mysteries cases, but that didn't go as planned. And there are multiple podcasts that cover this topic. I recommend the Unresolved podcast or the Bardstown, Kentucky podcast, but not the little summary podcasts that just cover it in a single episode, because even with Bardstown and Unresolved, well, you'll see. There's a lot more to cover in this town than you could possibly get to the bottom of.
Did you see that Carl guy I sent you?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that case? I'm going to add him. I sent you a new list that I'm looking at that I'm going to add him to. It's like 15 or 16 people on it. Most of them, they are just now making their way into NamUs over the last year or so, year and a half. Like some of them came in after I originally. That's actually how I ended up on Kentucky, the Kentucky case. It wasn't her case that like started that. There was this other one, and then I just sort of spiraled through Bardstown, and I was just looking at all of the different. It wasn't so. There's Crystal Rogers that went missing, and you were saying Crystal Rogers is tied to Jason Ellis, the cop that got murdered.
Crystal Rogers' boyfriend, whose name was Brooks Hoke.
Yeah.
His brother Nick was a police officer. So Nick Hoke was a police officer that worked with Jason Ellis.
So Jason Ellis is where I like sort of started, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then there's the mother and daughter case.
Oh, okay. You're not going chronologically.
No, not chronologically right this second. Crystal Rogers. Then I looked the most at Jason Ellis because that was really interesting to me because it's kind of weird to have that small an area where a police officer is killed that way. That was like straight up ambush. So that one was weird. But then you told me before I saw it elsewhere that Ellis and Nick were partners.
Yeah, they worked together, correct.
Yeah, so I saw that. And then, I had looked at the mother and daughter case, and I had looked at the fact that Tommy Rogers was killed, which was Crystal Rogers.
I think his name was Tommy Ballard.
You're correct.
It's Crystal Rogers' father, but she must have a married name or something. She must have taken somebody else's name at some point. But I believe his name is Tommy Ballard.
Yeah, so right in the middle of looking at all this, I actually wasn't looking for this case at all. I was looking at this stuff related to Paige Johnson, which is another Kentucky case, and I was just looking at these little clusters of unsolved murders and missing people in Kentucky. That one, people have covered it, but people that have covered it haven't even covered the half of it. There's Lucinda Strange, who was found in a ditch after leaving her house, and basically that goes all the way back to 1990. That one, she wasn't hit by a car or anything; she was stabbed to death. So that's kind of where I started. I was like, all right, I'll make 1990 the starting point for all of this. And then there's the Daniel Cahoe or Cahoe or Cahoe. He and his twin were both shot. One of them died. They're separate instances. And what you said that I think was really interesting is you think it was maybe his...
Actually, hold on there, because that person went anonymous. I don't know the timing after I told you that, and I'm like, are you following me?
I tried.
I realized the timing might not add up, and I don't want to say that because they posted anonymously, and
all right,
I don't know.
Let me start over. So
okay.
we think it's a possibility that with Daniel's unsolved murder, some of the internet gossip may be coming from someone there, but spilling over to Crystal Rogers' murder. Sort of. It might be. Maybe. We don't know that for sure.
All right. Tell me, what's the kid's first name that was killed? The Cahoe?
Daniel. All right, so Daniel Cahoe. Okay, so his father is Roger. That's who I thought was writing some of this stuff. Christmas 2011, when Roger and other members of the Cahoe family began searching for Daniel.
Okay, so it was 2012.
2011 into 2012, sometime in there, because they found his body right after New Year's.
Right,
January
2012.
4th. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Then you've got the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. You've got the 2016 shooting of her dad, the 2014 murders of Kathy and Samantha Netherland, and the 2013 ambush of the cop, Jason Ellis.
I'm going to have to put that in order chronologically. I'm sorry. That's just how my brain works. So the very first thing that we've looked at would be Daniel being found dead in 2012.
Right. 2013 is Jason Ellis, yeah.
Okay. Then is it the Netherlands next?
Yes, the Netherlands next.
Okay, then Crystal Rogers.
Right. And
then her dad.
Yeah, then her dad.
Tommy Ballard.
Right.
Okay.
So Tommy Ballard had a sister. 40 years ago, she was murdered. But that murder has been adjudicated. And
correct.
she was pregnant, and it's, basically a domestic thing, for lack of a better word. So when I started digging into this, there are a lot of unexplained things that seem to sort of circle around these two brothers. And I don't, they're named, really openly as persons of interest.
Right.
And a lot of stuff. I didn't get the impression one brother was particularly smart. There's an unsolved murder there I want to say it's in 2011. It's this kid named Brandon Stone. Brandon Stone is not like particularly close to any of this, but it is a Nelson County tangential case. And they're named in the paperwork. So the cops there, all right, the way that this went down for me with the brothers, one brother is the partner of the missing woman, Crystal Rogers. The other brother was a police officer. So that puts him as a police officer in 2015. What broke out there that was interesting was they bring in Brooks and they talk to him, and it's all on camera. Like, you know, it's going to be an interrogation. And his brother calls for him in the middle of the interrogation.
And I'm going to play you a piece of that interrogation, 2 pieces in fact, not the whole thing, but I will drop a link in the show notes where you can watch the whole 2 hours.
I just called, try to get over him before he comes here. He's not answering his phone yet, so he must still be in the middle of it.
All right, that's all right.
All right, I'm going to take a minute here and read through your statement, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's...
Get an idea. You might have answered some of my questions already. So.
But I did, I was trying to cover as much as I could. If my writing's not real legible, you just ask me and I can clarify real quick for you.
Okay. Yeah. 4 o'clock, Bluegrass Center.
And I don't know these. I put approximately on this before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nobody. I don't expect you to know exactly.
Yeah, no, there's no way for me to.
Yeah. Is this Friday? You ordered on the new construction on Friday?
Yeah, and I didn't put that order, but I put all that right there. The further you go, the more clarified I get. I broke it down into segments.
Oh, these are the people whose house you were working on?
Yeah, all these right here are people that I'm overseeing, that I'm speaking or talking to. We'll just look at my phone to get my exact time. I got my phone in there, and that way you can build a timeline of all this stuff that I do this every day. So me looking back, I had to know what time it is. And
right.
There's no way for me to remember that. I mean, you'll see the more that you get to looking through there, you'll see how much I've got in my head to try to keep up with. All these are guys that are working for me that help me, every one of them.
Okay.
And then these right here, I skipped a line to break that and put locations, and then I did it in subdivision, so y'all know where my vehicle, y'all know where I'm at, my phone and everything. Those are the numerical address, the street address, and this is the type of work that I've got going on past that hyphen mark. Those are the type of work I've got going on at each construction site. Every one of them is a separate job. And then this right here is for the whole subdivision, keep the Woodlawn Springs homeowner subdivision, the president and all the members, the committee and stuff, all I want to keep the subdivision looking nice, trash and debris and all that kind of stuff, the metal grates in the road, the curb and gutter and all of that. And this is just kind of like a daily thing. I've got to go through this every day to keep everybody rolling and everybody happy. And this switches subdivisions. You see I put copper fields up here, and then these are the number of houses I got going out there. I've got different subs in different spots.
Sorry, that thing will go off pretty constantly.
That's fine. That's nice.
I've got people all over the county, so.
All right. Nobody else will write on that though, correct?
No, and I'm going to make you a copy to show you.
I want to be sure that nobody else, messes with none of my stuff.
Right, right. No, you're going to get a copy of it so that you can look at mine and look at yours and say they're the exact same thing.
All right.
In fact, I'll do that right now. Better do it take full page every time I'm up there. These recycled tablets ain't the best. In just a second, I'll bring it right back. a minute, go through those page by page and compare them just to make sure that everything's good to go on them.
Looks good to me, sir.
I'll take the original if you'll keep the copy, and that way we'll both have a copy. All right, I'll put this in the file. So we're hearing tons and tons of rumors, right?
All right.
And I know Bardstown is the rumor mill of the world, but in a case like this, should it turn into a homicide investigation, any question that I didn't ask doesn't get asked. Does that make sense?
I don't understand what you're saying, but
well, if I don't ask you, then somebody's going to ask me why I didn't ask you later. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So when I ask you a question, it's not to be offensive; it's to get the question cleared up, so that we can move on to another.
I understand. Yeah, I'll help however I can.
So one of the rumors that we're hearing is that you all had gotten notice from the IRS that you were being investigated for tax evasion. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, sir.
Not correct. Okay. And again, these are all rumors that people are calling in about.
That's fine. And where you can get a legitimate source, also about verifying everything. Right across the street here, up here at Gilbert Brown Company CPAs does my taxes. He has for several years. If I need to sign a form to release all his documentation on me for that, you're all more than welcome to it. And that's the easiest way for me.
These are
that's fine. Ask whatever you got to ask.
Had you and Crystal ever talked about breaking up?
I mean, obviously we had fought just like any other any other couple, but in the last several years, I mean, it's came up, but we've always found ourselves together moving forward. Mm-hmm. So that it's mentioned, but it's never happened, and we've always found ourselves together moving forward.
Okay. I know she didn't work out of the home currently, but had she worked out of the home recently? Had she had a job outside of taking care of the rental properties?
Well, she took care of 2 young children, so she did some babysitting there at the house for some extra money. One little boy was about Eli's size, and other was, I don't know how old, but he was a little bit older. And I don't know how long, if it was 8 months or a year, but she had worked at the store up the road from our house for the, I don't want to say anything discriminatory, I don't want to say they're not Americans, but
they're Indians.
All right, yeah, I don't want to say nothing that's
convenience store.
Yeah, convenience store. She worked for some folks up there. I do not know that. I think it might be Sandy or Sandeep or something like that, but I don't know. She worked up there at that gas station for quite some time, but that's been quite some time ago.
Was that before or after Eli was born?
I think she started there before he was born, and she did work some there after he was born. She worked for a pretty good period of time there, but it's been quite some time back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's 2.5. So do you think
he's a little bit over than 2.5? Yeah. He'll be 3 in October.
Almost 3. Yeah.
All right.
So you think it was a year ago or better since she worked there?
Probably approximately. I don't know. I would say give or take a 6-month window there. Something like that would probably be pretty accurate. But I do not know the answer to that. I do not know. I just know that it's been a period of time.
Since you've lived together, have you all always lived on Glenview?
That's the only house since Eli has been born. We brought him home from the hospital. We lived there.
Okay.
Yes.
So
That's the only residence.
you all were living there when she was working at the, and when she stopped working at the.
When she stopped, yes, when she stopped working there. There was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 other girls that worked up there with her. I don't know their names. They didn't have a large amount of employees, just a few.
When you said you all had, talk about splitting up, had that been more recently, or was that before Eli was born, or had that been?
I don't remember the exact dates, but if you'll recall back in a couple of days ago when we had talked, whenever usually that had came up, she had always went to like Sabrina's house, or she went out with Brooke or to her parents for a short period of time, a day and a half, and after she cooled off, and we had a chance to talk a little bit, we always found ourselves back together. But it has been at times a stressed relationship. I'm not here telling you anything other than that. That is the truth, and that's accurate. That has been discussed, but we've always found ourselves together. We loved each other very much, and that right there is the bottom end of it.
Well, the reason I ask is because there are some people that she's associated with that are telling us that she had made some tentative plans to leave, like looking at an apartment at that store above the apartment above the store. I'm just trying to figure out if that was something that was ancient history or if that was something that was more recent.
Well, that's news to me. I don't know anything about that.
So when you all, let's say the last time you all had discussed splitting up, she didn't discuss any specifics with you about moving to an apartment or anything like that? Just that you all were having some issues and you resolved it?
Say all that again. Yeah. Break your question. Break them down.
The last time that you all had that type of a disagreement, okay? The last time that there was the possibility that you might split up, did she specifically talk to you about moving out somewhere?
No, not anything that I. She's never had an isolated point saying, "Hey, I'm moving here, moving there." I don't recall anything like that.
Okay,
no, sir.
That was my question.
All right.
Just if she had.
Well, sometimes I know that you all do this for a living. Sometimes I feel like when you ask me a question, you put so many things, and I'm thinking we need to dissect it a little bit so I can answer each part specifically rather than put so. And I'm not. Please don't get upset at me for saying that to you. Put so much stuff in one. I want to break it down in a simplified, direct question rather than put so much information into one question. Try to answer one and have a bunch of parts in one.
No, that's fine. If you need me to, that's fine. What you did right there is just fine.
All right, yeah, I just don't want you to ask
it a different way or ask.
Because I want you helping me.
No, that's
all right. That's all right.
That's fine. That's no problem at all. We kind of already established the Kylie thing, but just so I'm clear on it.
All right.
You got home at somewhere between 5 and 5:30, probably closer to 5, right?
Yes, sir.
And Kylie was there?
I didn't go in the house at that time.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I knew that whenever she was coming behind me, I knew that she was going to be there shortly. So what I did was I jumped on that little tractor. I knew I had a little bit of time, and I wanted to go up there and fill it up full of fuel, check, do all that kind of stuff, get my fuel levels right, so that I didn't have to stop. I've got, as you can tell when you look at that list, I got so much stuff to do. I don't have any unaccounted for time. I'm wide open. Right. If I stop for a few minutes, I go backwards, and I don't have time to do that.
So so you didn't go inside, so you don't know if she was there when you arrived?
I don't know that she was there. She was riding with Crystal. I do not know.
And when you got back from gassing up the tractor, they were all there. Her and Eli and Crystal.
All four, yes.
Yeah, okay. And so all four of you were there. So during that time, the neighbor said she got home around 5:15, give or take.
That's right.
So from 5:15, and I think I mentioned to you that I see on the video that you all go past Circle K. You go past the storage place and Circle K all within a minute or so, about 5 minutes after 7, thereabouts. give or take a minute.
All right.
So let's say you left the house around 7 o'clock. Fair enough?
That's fine.
There's going to be a little bit of time, but I'm just generalizing. So she gets home about 5:15. You get back from the store. You all are there from, let's say, 5:30 to 7 o'clock together, the four of you. You ate dinner at home, I think you told me last time.
Yeah, we didn't fix nothing. I don't know what we ate. We didn't fix nothing fancy.
Right. Sandwiches.
Whatever we did.
Yeah. You guys leave to go to the farm, but Kylie does not go with you.
That's correct.
She stays there waiting on Kathy.
Mamaw Kathy, her father's mother.
Yeah, Kathy Fenwick.
Yes.
Right. So she stays there. You don't know what time she gets picked up, but she's there when you all leave.
Yes.
Because that was one of the things, I think she got confused, Kylie, not Kathy. Kylie got confused about the time frames when I was talking.
But I can't speak on their.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not confused.
All right. That's what you said is my understanding of it.
Okay. So you guys leave, you go, presumably you go out Bloomfield Road to Guthrie because you go past Circle K and not turning on Woodlawn Road. So you go out there, and then the next time I see you is when you pass Caddy Shack, the little restaurant there on 49. You go past there, and it's about the right amount of time for you to be traveling, you know. And then you get to the farm around, best I can figure out by the time frame on the video, is about 19 minutes after 7. So you're actually there, you know, roughly about 7:20 or so.
Okay.
So you get there. By the way, I twisted I guess it would be your aunt's arm to. So we noticed they had the video cameras. That's why.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
So she actually helped you out with the time.
Good.
It showed you coming. Now I haven't watched the full days yet, so I don't know anything about comings and goings. But I know you got there about 20 minutes after, and you left there about 11:55 thereabouts. So during that time, from reading your statement, you left once and went down almost to Loretta Road and then turned around and came back because you decided the Tractor Supply might be closed, right?
Yes.
So that, you know, a little bit of time there. How long were you at the farm before you went to get feed and then came back, decided that it was too late? Do you remember, roundabout?
It couldn't have been long.
Because you were going to feed the cows, right?
Yeah, it couldn't have been probably more than, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay. I'm just trying to get an idea so when I watch the video, you know, I can kind of look for when you're coming out and then you're going back.
Yes.
And when you got to the farm, do you know if anybody was there other than your mom?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you see your mom when you came in?
No, we didn't. We didn't stop up there. We went straight down there we were going there to feed the cows.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, but the barn's within eyeshot of the house.
But sometimes she might park inside. Sometimes she might not. So I don't know if.
Right. She got more than one vehicle.
She's got a little red truck, and she's got a white, and then she's got a white SUV.
Oh, okay.
But I can't. That 15 to 20 minutes is as close as I can, and that's a guess. But I'd say it's pretty accurate.
She, I think your mom told me she had been mowing grass. Do you know if she was mowing when you got there, or
she's always outside doing something? She's more of an outside person than inside.
And I'm going to skip towards the end of this interview so that you can hear a different part of it. But as I previously noted, I will drop the full interview link into the show notes.
Give me just a second. I want to get your phone and look that phone number.
All right.
Okay, if we put that number in?
Yeah, go right ahead. Do what you got to do.
Looks like you got a couple of messages. I don't know how to do that. I've got an Apple phone. So just,
you just want to put the number in, right?
Or check contacts or however you do it to see who it is, yeah.
492-1390. Just call it. Oh, Steve Lawson.
Okay. Who is Steve Lawson?
He's somebody that works for me. Hey, Steve. Hey, I can't hear you real good. I'm gonna ask you to speak up a little bit, okay?
Okay, sir.
Hey, I was wanting to know. Hey, I've got some things going on next week. I'm gonna need your help with me. Are you already booked up, or can you help me?
I haven't moved up yet. I'm still looking for a place. That's why I needed them numbers from you.
All right. Well, I can write them all down and get them there for you. But I was actually talking about doing some more work with your little skid steer and so forth. Mine's still broke down.
Well, I said, get with me tomorrow. I'm coming. I know you have a hard time hearing me because it's where I'm located at.
All right.
So just get in touch with me tomorrow and we'll see what we can do. But my question, I just want to tell you I'm sorry about everything that's going on in your life, brother, and I got you in my prayers.
I said it is a very difficult and trying time, but I appreciate you saying that. But hey, I need your help while I got you on the phone here. Do you remember the other night you called me really late, and I forgot what you asked me. Can you? I guess it wasn't on the phone. I might have been tired. I know it was pretty late at night. Can you remember what you asked me or what you were after? I can't remember.
Yes, sir, I can. I called to ask you for them numbers for a house.
Oh, for a rental house.
Yes, sir,
And
I did.
what did I forgot? What did I tell you?
You told me that you would call, what's her name, Katie or whatever, she handles all that.
Crystal.
Crystal, okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
And you said she handles all that, and that you would get back with me on it.
All right. Thank you so much, now.
Hey, if there's anything I can do, you give me a call.
Thank you. You have a good night now.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that begs a question in my mind.
All right.
If she's in the truck next to you when he called, why would you need to call her about getting numbers for rental property?
Because being that late at night, we're headed to the house. I just wouldn't. She normally's not going to deal with stuff that late. And I mean, I probably didn't even look at the phone to see who it was calling me. I'm sure I just answered it.
But he said you told him that you'd need to call her.
All right.
Why would you need to call her? I mean, that's an odd phrase for someone who's sitting next to you in the truck. Do you understand? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I mean, that's what if that right there is what I told him, that right there is what I told him. We wasn't on the phone that long, but normally I would just, she handles all that, and that's what I would do. She's not going to want to mess with that kind of stuff that late. I'm sure I'll probably try to answer the phone really quickly, so that it wouldn't, a lot of times after I get moving, Eli goes to sleep, sometimes he goes to sleep in the truck, sometimes he doesn't. So if you want to call him, you got his number and everything, if you want to call him, you can call him.
What do you think happened?
I'm shocked. I do not know.
I mean, you told me that she doesn't do drugs.
She's not on any kind of drugs that I'm aware of.
She drinks socially. On occasion.
And mildly, yes, not any kind of...
Every 6-8 weeks, something like that, right? Has she ever had trouble with depression before?
Not really, not to my knowledge. I mean, there's always stress that's your highs and lows in people's life, but I wouldn't classify her as a stressful person or someone that's deeply depressed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know Keith Rogers, her ex-husband, or still current, but not together. I know that he has had a drug problem in the past. Was she with him during the time that he had the drug problem, or was that after?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
You guys got
I think that he has fought that for some time, and I think that she was obviously definitely in the picture while that was going on, but I don't, to my knowledge, she didn't get wrapped up into any of that.
I guess the biggest problem that I have is that most women are not going to walk away from their purse and their cell phone in the car.
I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? If she were going to walk to go find help or something, she would take her phone even if it was dead. She wouldn't. My wife wouldn't leave her purse anywhere for any reason. So I can't figure why she would walk away from the car and leave the purse there. When we took the bloodhounds up there, the lady commented that it was though she wasn't even there. I mean, they had her things that you provided us for sin, and they said it was as though she was not even there. I can't explain that. I don't understand what that means. I don't know why, if it's her car and she leaves in it sometime Friday night, why does it appear to the dogs that she's not even there?
I agree with you.
This same set of bloodhounds tracked her in the car from 49, and they had never been to your mom's farm before, tracked her scent all the way down 49, turned on Bardstown Road, and turned on Pascal Ballard as though they were following your car. So I know the dog's not defective.
That's right.
Because they're following her scent, and they don't know where your mom is. They've never been there before. So the dog's nose is not defective. So when the dog doesn't even try to find her on the parkway, where her car ends up, it's just very odd to me. And I can't figure out why they wouldn't find any scent of her at all if she walked one way or another.
They would have picked it up.
Right. They would have at least walked far enough for her to have been picked up by somebody. You know how if you break down on the parkway, somebody's not going to pull bumper to bumper with you, so you're going to have to walk from your car to their car to get in.
Right.
So the dog doesn't even act like it wants to go in one direction or another, even far enough for her to have even gotten in a car with somebody. That's just weird to me. I don't understand. Unless she was never in her car when it got put on the parkway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that. I do not know.
Do you know of anybody that would want to hurt her?
I mean, as far as I know, she's a well-likable person.
Right.
I know that she's done a few evictions with some folks, got a few people upset, but...
Were they missing evictions?
I mean...
Like threatening?
I mean, there's never a good eviction.
Right, but I mean,
it's just normal business. But I can't think of anything. She's a likable person. I can't think of anybody who would want to harm her.
Ever have anybody show up at the house upset over something? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? When it's not appropriate for them to be coming to their landlord's house. Ever have them show up at your house, beating on the door, hey, you threw me out, or whatever?
I've never had somebody come up there to the house over an eviction saying you threw me out. Not one time. Now, several of the tenants do come to our house. Some people don't just mail a money order check. Sometimes people stop by there and drop it off.
Sure.
And, you know, she can write them a receipt that way or whatever. But as far as what you're saying about you evicted me and you threw me out and they're confronting her about it, never happened one time.
Does Kylie's dad, he doesn't have anything to do with her?
Very little. I don't even know. I think he lives a far piece from here. I'm not really sure.
So I thought they said her dad's name was John Fenwick. Is that correct? Or
no, that's not right.
That's not right. Okay.
I think it's Jesse. John Fenwick is one of the owners of Bluegrass Seed.
Right.
Yeah, that's not her.
Okay.
That's not
her.
her.
So Jesse Fenwick.
I believe, and that might not.
Somebody that doesn't live around here close.
Yeah, it's a far piece.
Is he now? But obviously, his mom lives on Stone Road.
Yes.
So he's a member of that Fenwick family that's from around here.
I don't know how many sets of Fenwicks there are, but I know there's.
As far as I know, there's only two. Now I don't know which one he would belong to, and there may be more than that I'm unaware of. But so. Do you know, is she related to the Fenwicks that own the Bluegrass Seed?
I do not. I don't think she is, but I do not know.
For sure.
I don't do family trees and all. I don't do all that.
I didn't know since you do business, if you've done business with them, if it come up. But and then Ashley is the daughter that her mom and dad raised.
Yes, and I figured out her last name is Johnson. I couldn't tell you that the other night because I was so darn stressed out, but her last name is Johnson, and I do not know her dad's first name. I just know that he stays incarcerated quite a bit. He'll get out from time to time, but he will only make it about a week, and they find a reason to lock him back up again, whether it be drugs or whatever it is.
Have you all ever had any trouble out of him?
I've never met the man. I know that was a pretty abusive relationship from what Crystal's told me, but I don't really know. I can't speak intelligently upon it. It's been quite some time back, so I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't even know the guy's first name.
No custody issues with Keith?
I know that Tori has told her before that she gets mad if Tori gets mad if she's been corrected or something like that right there. She'll say, well, I'm going to my dad's house, or I'm going over here. They'll want to flip-flop back or forth or whatever, split house.
Play one off the other.
Yeah, I know Tori does that, but I don't think they've ever really had any big issue on getting the kids. From what I can understand, that's been pretty good. I mean, if one of them wants them, or Keith wants them for a little bit, or the kids want to go over there, they just had kind of like a mutual agreement where that's what they did, that's just what they did. They never really struggled with it,
Yeah. Well, okay, so I guess where I go from here, we're still getting video from different places, that along that route.
Can I get this?
Sure, go ahead. Can you come over?
No. I'm up here. I know that you didn't know. I'm up here in this interview with the Detective Snow. I've been up here a good little while. I'm filling out this statement here and everything. Are you telling me that's what I need to do? I know that. But the way that I look at it is, I'm innocent. I ain't done nothing wrong. I know you told me innocent people have got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave. If you want me to. I know I'm going through a lot, but I'm trying to get this guy to help me. I don't think she's ran off with some other guy. I don't believe that. You can't make me think that. No. Yeah, so do I. I'll do exactly what you're telling me to do right now. You want me to get up and leave? Man, I don't think these guys. I don't think these people have got a vindictive just to skin me for no reason. Man, this is not their family. This is not. All right, thank you. He thinks y'all are gonna fuck, is what he thinks.
I don't know who he is.
Nick, my brother.
If you want to go, you're free.
No, I know that, but I'm not. He just said just to keep sitting up here, to give a statement, do an interview, whatever I got to do it. But he said, darn, just to keep letting them just beat you to death over this right here. Just ask what you got to ask and let.
And you tell me.
You see what I mean, he knows more about this than I do. You see.
And have I told you that I'm for you?
Yes, you have.
I said, what did I say? My job is to find Crystal, right?
That's right.
However that happens, my job is to find her. Whether I find her hopefully alive and well and safe somewhere or not, my job is to find her. If I don't find her alive and well, my job is to prosecute the person that did something.
That's right.
If that turns out to be you, my job is to prosecute you. If that turns out to be someone else, my job is to prosecute them, to gather evidence for a lawyer, a prosecutor, to prosecute them. I don't know whether that person will be you or not. Or did I not tell you when you come in here and sit down today that right now you're the main person of interest?
Yes, that's right.
And I explained to you the reason that you're the main person of interest, right? You're the last person to see her alive, right? And I went through your timeline with you and explained to you that there's gaps in your timeline, right? Be it good, bad, or indifferent, you can't remember some things about Saturday, you can't remember some things about Sunday. That's not a judgment against you, that's just a fact. I am simply a fact finder. If you want to go, you may go at any time you wish to. I would never dream of stopping you, didn't tell you you had to stay. If you want to bring a lawyer in and answer questions with a lawyer, you're welcome to do that. I'd have been asking you the very same questions in front of your lawyer that I asked you today. Right? I have not given up hope of finding her alive. That being said, you know as well as I do, the longer this draws out, the less likely we are to find her alive unless she's run off somewhere. I mean, that's just a fact.
That's right.
That's just the facts as they are. I am not for you, I am not against you. I am not for her family or against her family. Right now, my job is to work for Crystal. Plain and simple. It's just that simple. If that means that I have to interrogate you, then that's what I have to do. You've been nothing but cooperative with me. I appreciate that. We've talked. This makes number 3? Third time?
I don't know. I can't.
3 times. Here, the first time. At your house, the second time. And here, the third time again. Not counting the polygraph, because I didn't ask any questions in. You've not asked for a lawyer. You're right. That's your right to do. You're entitled to do that. If Nick thinks you should go and you want to take his advice, go ahead. It's fine. I'm not offended by that. My job is not to make you happy. My job is to find Crystal. If that makes you happy, awesome. You know, but make no mistake, my job is to find her. That's what I'm doing. If I offend people in the midst of that, well, I'll apologize later for offending people. If it finds her home safe, then I'll just take the blunt of offending people and go on. You know, just like what you said. What'd you say? Doesn't matter what they think of you, as long as we find her.
That's right.
So that being said, you know, you're free to take Nick's advice if he wants you to leave. I don't really have any more questions with you. I was just going to tell you where we go next.
All right, yeah, well, wrap it up and you tell me what we're doing next, and if it's over, it's maybe it's false alarm.
So, you know, here's what I'm looking at, right? I'm trying to find video of her car getting on the parkway, whether it's New Haven Road or 150, trying to find some video of her car getting on the parkway in hopes that it will reveal to us when it gets on the parkway, because there's some confusion about that. Some people calling in saying they saw it on Saturday. Some people calling in saying they saw it on Sunday morning. Some people calling in saying it wasn't there Saturday or Sunday morning. That's just the nature of the beast. When you put information out there, you get a lot of it back. So I'm trying to figure out when it got on the parkway, and if I can, who was driving it when it got on the parkway. Maybe she was driving it, maybe she wasn't. Maybe somebody else was driving it. I don't know. You know, maybe somebody stole it and it got a flat tire, and they left it on the parkway. I have no idea. There's a million possibilities about how it got on there. So I'm trying to figure that out. I would like to fill in the gaps in your timeline. I may be able to do that with the video at your aunt and uncle's house, because they may be able to show me when you came and went from the farm on Saturday, those kind of things. I'm probably going to interview your mom. I'm probably going to interview Nick and ask them, you know, if they were with you any time during that time. Maybe they have a little better memory of it. They can fill in those gaps. I'm probably going to interview the employees that called you Friday and Saturday, Friday evening and then Saturday, to interview them and ask them, you know, when you called him, what did you talk about? How long did you talk? Mr. Stanley or whatever his name is. You know, did he answer the phone? Did you all talk on Saturday morning? If you did, what did you talk about? Did you go see him? Those kinds of things to help me fill in your timeline, which gives me a better idea of whether or not you're involved in her disappearance. And that's what I do. So, and then once I've done as much as I feel like I can do, I'm going to move on to other things. I'll be honest. Beyond that, short of finding her somewhere, I've done about all the forensic countermeasures I can do. You know, we've gone through the car with a fine-tooth comb. We fingerprinted the car. We've gone through her purse. We're going to start going through bank records. You know, she did have an account. I know you told me you didn't know that she did or didn't. She did have an account of some sort. My understanding is maybe from a family member that there was some Social Security disability from Keith for the kids that maybe went into that account. Maybe that's the case. We'll kind of look into that. You know, we'll start questioning people about the validity of those kinds of things, about the apartment and those kind of things, and try to get a better idea if that's just a shady rumor or whatever, you know. But unfortunately, I've got to dispel all these rumors. You know, that's part of my job. We've got to either prove them, disprove them, or no, we can't do either. So that's where I'm at.
All right.
So I appreciate you coming in. If I ask you to come in again, or if I come see you, again, know that you're always welcome to tell me you don't want to talk to me anymore. That's perfectly okay. All right?
Are you completely done with my phone?
Yes, sir.
So
yeah, that was definitely strange and dramatic.
It was, and the police chief calls the brother, not the one that was being interrogated, the cop, kicks him to the curb.
So to sort of play both sides of this, I would say it is not the worst idea to not speak with law enforcement if someone close to you has been murdered.
Well, she's just a disappeared person at the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's not what has happened here, and that's why I believe if the stunt hadn't have been pulled like it was, I don't know that they would have jumped to that conclusion. It was almost like in trying to, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, because the brother that was being interrogated, he has a very positive view. Thank you so much for calling me and asking me about this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, but I'm not going to be talking about this. Like, he has a very strange approach to, like, being approached. Okay,
but I don't know if you know this, but he ran for sheriff there of Nelson County.
Well, I didn't know that, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Like he has a very
political type personality.
Yeah, he does. He's very hand pressing.
I didn't know that he ran for sheriff, but so yeah, that's how he comes off. Which is fine. You can, you know, I don't have a problem with people being that way, but if you're just going to talk with the sheriff about where your genuinely missing girlfriend is, I imagine it going very differently. And I don't imagine your cop brother calling you up and telling you to shut it down. That right there oozes guilt. It oozes, foul play. It oozes all kinds of things. And I don't know if you noticed, but he's talking when he's giving it. I can see why his brother would want him to stop talking based on what he was saying, because he was indicating that they hadn't had a fight, everything was normal.
He's saying they didn't have a fight, but then describing how she left like they had a fight.
Correct. And so it's like something, okay, so he's explaining her disappearance and the reason why he wasn't so concerned about her disappearance. It was based on past behavior. When they had a fight or a disagreement, she would leave and go to her cousin's house or her friend's house, or I can't remember exactly where she would go. But that was his excuse for why he wasn't so concerned that she wasn't there. Now, they had a little baby, like I would say probably under a year old. I don't know how old he was, but they had a little baby. So he was talking out of both sides of his mouth, so to speak. He was saying, we didn't have a fight, but the reason I wasn't concerned is because when we have fights, she goes off. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And so because of that, that's sort of the first flag. And then in the middle of the interview, his brother calls and he's like, I didn't know you didn't know I was up here. And It's a very strange conversation. The brother that called ultimately ends up getting fired. And I don't think he was fired just for that one call. But I think that it was clear that while I understand it would be valid for any police officer to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't talk with law enforcement without representation when a serious crime has been committed, I think it's strange. I think it's weird when it's a missing persons case where you have a vested interest in getting the person back. For example, in this case, they shared a son. He would want to get his son's mother back, so he would have a mom. That's a vested interest. And so it seems weird that a genuine missing person, when you're talking about that type of case, to shut it down. It's weird. It says immediately that it's more than a missing persons case.
Yeah, so the way that the firing goes down like this, the non-cop brother, he is known to be sort of the idiot. Although one description I read of him that was backed up was that he was sort of a local slumlord. Like he had a bunch of rental properties that were not great. And so that's online, that's out there. So the other brother, who is not a sheriff's candidate, he's just a patrolman, basically. He's the one protecting the brother with the missing girlfriend, supposedly. Right. So what ends up happening there, and the paperwork on this is so murky because I've started pulling it in light of recent events. The police chief did not have the authority to fire this guy. For some reason, I guess it's part community ties and it's part like a check and balance system they have in place where, the town itself is in charge of approving firings and hirings. So they suspend him with pay while the investigation is ongoing. And then they apparently get the Kentucky State Police involved, although I can't tell you exactly how they're involved because their paperwork basically looks like they opened the case, took a look at it, said it's Bardstown, and closed it. And then they were pushed by press to open the case, so they opened it again, they looked at it, they said it's Bardstown, and they closed it. Like, so both times that the Kentucky State Police get involved, they look at it and they go, nah. And that's the extent of the paperwork from the perspective of the Kentucky State Police.
And that's just with his firing, right? That's what we're talking about.
That is strictly related to his involvement in the investigation of Rogers' disappearance and how he is basically suspended at that point. He's not fired. He's suspended. He was suspended at one point with pay, and then he was suspended without pay. But what was interesting about it, it sounds like when people talk about it, it sounds like it happened overnight. It didn't. Okay. And that's what's interesting about it. Because of the phone call in, somebody higher than them gets involved. Now, I can't tell who did it because there's a series of really weird events that go on where they start digging into these other cases of laborers who work for the brother with the missing girlfriend. I don't think they were married, but they share a kid. So the missing co-parent, the other co-parent is suddenly investigated for multiple events of possession and selling of narcotics related to the rental properties. And they don't do anything to him, but they hit up a lot of the day laborers. In the meantime, the suspended brother, the city council gets involved. They decide they want a polygraph. Somebody gives this kid a polygraph, and the results are disturbing enough that they seize his patrol car. I don't know who seizes it. It just indicates it was seized and moved for evidence. It doesn't tell you where. It kind of looks like Kentucky State Police, but they don't do anything with it. However, he finally gets fired. And what comes out of it for the brothers, no charges for the cop brother, but the other brother gets popped for what is essentially grand theft. And it's for stealing shingles from a local hardware store. I don't know how it all I don't know if it was a non-payment issue or if it was a literal theft, because it reads like a literal theft. He's indicted. He's eventually found not guilty. All this time, this woman has been missing. Now, what sets us off in you and I talking about this case is earlier this week, the FBI in Louisville officially took over this case. There was a series of events related to that. They actually go back almost a year. So Brooks's house burns down. I don't know. He's building a house. It's under construction, and there's in fire that takes the house. I can't get the paperwork on that for some reason. It seems to be tied to all the rest of this. Now, it could be fraud. It could be angry people. It could be random. So I don't know what that has to do with it, but here's what I do know. They put together a task force on these two idiots. And I say that in the politest way possible, because if you were to make a book that was criminal enterprises for dummies on I don't know if you've ever seen For Dummies books. I'm reading Freemasons for Dummies right now, but they have these little tabs of things not to do, do's and don'ts.
And you could just follow them as an example.
Yeah, they would be like basically everything that these two have done. You just put it on the left-hand column as don't do this.
But isn't there sort of okay, I agree with you 100%, but it's almost like they got away with stuff up to a point. Before they ended up in the don't column. And I think the pivotal thing was sort of here when, basically when the one brother called the other brother while he was sitting there being interviewed. I think that was the moment it all started falling apart, because up until that point, he had been a quiet cop that did a pretty good job from what I sort of saw.
I don't see anything in here reflecting what type of job he did. But basically, like you said, he flew completely under the radar in a way he didn't attract negative attention.
Right. And so it was surprising when it turned, but when it turned, it was eye-opening.
My experience, though, police chiefs don't look at their best patrolmen calling their brother and saying, hey, get a lawyer, as a huge negative thing unless they already have some other suspicion.
He wasn't saying, hey, get a lawyer.
Either one is not terrible if you're like a Boy Scout Dudley Do-Right cop.
Well, I think those two things are very different things, saying leave, don't talk to them versus don't talk without an attorney. But I also think, again, we have to consider she was a missing person.
Right. It wasn't a crime.
Right. And so
they weren't investigating
why would you get
a crime.
An attorney for when your baby mama left to go on vacation? Why would you do that?
You're right. You're absolutely
That's not
right.
actually a crime. So, it's weird. And so I do think that was enough to raise flags, even if he was Dudley Do-Right before. It's just the weird take on it. Now, here's the other thing, though. How did they even know that was him? I know he admits to it later, but just on its face.
And when we first recorded this, we had only heard a small portion of the interviews that I have now dropped into the show notes and dropped big pieces of here. But there was another part of those interviews that I'm going to play in just a minute that was far more interesting. You may have noticed that Brooks talks about tax records in the clip that I played just a moment ago.
It's sketchy as hell, dude. It's so sketchy. But so about a week and a half ago, remains were found in the area where Crystal Rogers' car was discovered back when she went missing. And they were essentially in what used to be a dry creek bed. It isn't a dry creek bed anymore. Rain in the area had washed the dirt away so that bones were visible.
So they had been buried and then they became naturally exposed is what you're getting.
That is my understanding to it. So whatever happened there was they weren't watching these two. And I say they, meaning some level of the FBI was involved because the Department of Justice wrote up the paperwork. However, there's 150 people doing 9 search warrants in a single day on what I can see from the returned warrants. They've got the baby mama's boyfriend's house. the family farm, like his parents lived at, that location, and it's not just the house, it's multiple
structures, right?
And then the cop who's no longer a cop brother. So those are the 3 returned warrants where they're starting to inventory the evidence, and they haven't returned the other warrants yet. They're still doing something. So they just, here's the biggest thing that shocked me. The IRS is involved. And I was like, well, that's interesting, considering like these guys own property in that area, and they've obviously built up enough to be like candidates for office and policemen locally, and they're running these rental properties. That's an interesting.
Don't you think that? Well, I don't know how interesting it is. Yes, it is interesting. However, when you told me that, I assumed it was a Hail Mary.
That's what I assumed too. Like they couldn't get anything else.
Putting the evidence together, and that happens a lot. And I actually, I have mixed feelings about it. In this particular case, like if those were Crystal's remains that were found, and if law enforcement is just digging to get, whatever they can to put these guys away, I think that's warranted. But I have mixed feelings about digging on stuff, especially stuff that isn't as serious as murder, because I think a lot of situations, it from the jump, it's unwarranted. And if you break the law, you break the law. I mean, yes, that's correct, but it's going to be irritating that they can put these guys away for a substantial amount of time based on tax returns when they can't do it for murder. That seems really irritating.
Oh, I had a different take. I agree with you there. Like, are you thinking like Capone style? Like they're trying to get them on something because they can't get them on the other?
Right. Well, that's what I feel like they're doing. That's what a Hail Mary is.
Well, so at one point, they had busted one of the employees for like 38 counts of perjury. And, not one of the brothers themselves, but one of the people that worked for them. And they went after Grandma. Like, they went after Grandma to the point that in court, she pled the fifth, finally, during some hearing they were having. And I assume it was some level of probable cause hearing, but the timing of it makes it look like it's attached to the indictment for stealing the shingles, which came from the feds, by the way. The feds did that. And
right. Well,
what I was thinking they're trying to get a hold of their computers. That's the way that you get computers and phones, is to charge them with something that has a paper trail. I mean, I think it's a Hail Mary, but I don't think it's a Hail Mary to charge them with tax evasion or tax fraud. I think it's a Hail Mary to get them under an umbrella in such a way that they found like they had an illegal employee or an underreported property where they could get them on some kind of income tax. But that is really to search their computers and their phones.
Well, and obviously this would be, and I'm not saying this doesn't happen because I'm sure it does, but like they wouldn't really be able to use fruit, if you will, from a search based on another crime. Warranted. Like if they get a search warrant specifically for like aiming for one case, they really technically shouldn't be able to use that evidence against them in a different case. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and I'm not necessarily saying that I agree that it shouldn't happen, but warrants are for people's privacy. Like they're designed to protect people, and so that may be what they're doing, but that's a really I don't want to say
it's a slippery slope.
Well, because if they argued it correctly in front of the correct judge, they could get it all thrown out. So I don't know that that's what happens. But yeah, I would say that that would just be another Hail Mary, really. But they could be doing that, sure.
Well, if they found evidence that some kind of drug dealing has gone on and some kind of money laundering has gone on, they could be doing it under a RICO statute of some kind. That could be the reason the IRS is also involved.
Meg is a huge proponent for the rights of citizens of the United States. I, on the other hand, think that huge criminal enterprises, that the people investigating those cases deserve some leeway, and sometimes we butt heads in our debate about this topic. But the one thing we've been able to agree on with Bardstown, Kentucky is we don't know what's going on. We just hope they're a lot closer to solving the case of the missing woman, Crystal Rogers. To wrap this case up, I'm going to play a few news clips and then an interview. And in the interview, there's an interesting thing said by a polygrapher. This is the interview with the brother who was once a Bardstown police officer. And the interesting phrase you're looking for is, once the feds go after you, they're going to find something. And we don't know if these brothers are guilty of anything, but they've been publicly named as persons of interest and suspects. And regardless of their involvement, innocence or guilt, there is something going on in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Well, Nick, I've had a chance to review your charts on both tests. That first test, you did not pass the test, and it's pretty clear to me that you haven't told me the complete truth today. And the questions you're having a problem with are questions about Crystal. And in particular, the one about whether or not you know where she is right now. And I treat police officers in these circumstances like I would myself, so we're not going to go through all the interview interrogation nonsense. You and I are on the same page. But again, I'm also going to tell you the complete truth as we're sitting here. And it's no longer a matter of wondering, do you know anything about what happened? We're past that now. I mean, I'm crystal clear with you. I give everybody a good, fair test. I'm no longer asking you if you know. You do. Now, what you want to do with that is entirely up to you. I'm going to yell and scream at you and get the Sipowicz phone book and all that. I'm talking to you man-to-man as a fellow law enforcement officer. That the time has come for you to think real hard about the rest of your life. Okay? This is you. I'm not talking about Brooks or anybody else. And I'm telling you facts of life. I'm an old guy. I'm not trying to be a father figure here, but I'll tell you, in doing this for 25 years, the way that this pans out. When the FBI gets involved in this investigation, I want you to listen to what I'm saying. You don't have to say anything to me. You do whatever you want to do. As I said, you may never even be an FBI agent, right? But once you get on the radar, we don't go away, unless there's a reason to. I thought there would be. You didn't pass this, and there's some other information there as well. So I guarantee you we're not going away. All right. The FBI has unlimited resources in terms of forensic information, electronic information, many bodies as you want to pour out here, do surveillance and look through everything that's ever gone on. We will find Crystal. I have zero doubt about that. It's a matter of when it's going to be and why. And inevitably, what's going to happen is one of a couple of things. We'll determine exactly if she's injured and dead, which she in likelihood is. You've come to that conclusion yourself. Mm-hmm. The way that happened and the means in which it happened. Now, I know what your relationship is with your brother. It's a tight relationship, but in a unique kind of way. You have a little different relationship, and it's actually, again, not trying to make comparisons, similar to what mine and my brothers are. Close, but in a very different way. And no doubt in my mind that you've spoken with him about what happened. You know essentially what happened. And whether or not it was something staged out and planned in terms of I'm going to make it go away, or if it was something that was, I hesitate to say an accident, but something that was not intended to do. My hunch is, I don't know, because I don't have the physical evidence in front of me to know, but 99% of the time in these, it's something that was not intended, a push, a shove, somebody trips, hits her, or whatever. Have no idea. We find her, we're going to know, no doubt about it, and we will. And at that point, they're no longer going to come and ask you what happened. They're no longer going to come and ask Brooks what happened. They're going to know what happened. And they're going to prosecute, assuming a worst-case scenario, because everybody had an opportunity up front to say, whoa, time out. It's a horrible, horrible thing. I got scared. Let me just tell you what happened. Nobody's going to want to hear that anymore, because all your testimony in the grand jury, all of his in the grand jury, the interviews that were recorded, where there are demonstrable lies about things that were said, that's all put in front of a jury and or a judge. You know, you've been in the system. And people are going to look at it in the totality and say, well, now they're saying it was some kind of an accident or they didn't intend for it to happen. Why didn't they just say that? last month, last year, 5 years ago, whenever it may be. And what's going to end up happening is people end up getting prosecuted, and they look for the most significant sentences they can for people. And then people start cutting deals, and who's going to get the reduced sentence, and blah, you know how that all works. Point is, at that point, it's out of everybody's control. If we're going to get involved as the FBI and expend all these resources, then we're going to just assume the worst and go forward. If at this stage, however, and I'm just giving you the facts to lay out, these are not things, I have no doubt you've pondered this since the very first day this all occurred. But I want you to refresh it in your mind. You think about it however you want to. What everybody that I've talked to believes is this was something that was not a planned out murder for hire type thing or that nature. It was about a relationship and something that happened flared up. Like you worked how many domestics in your career? Plenty. And you know people don't plan those out. Sometimes you see a pattern of behavior. It doesn't appear to be the case here. That's why I asked you about their relationship, and others have as well. Nobody's pointing to saying it's that kind of relationship. Again, I'm not going to lay out all the evidence that's sitting there right now, and there's plenty of it. And I don't know the additional evidence that's going to come out as this goes forward, because we're just getting started on an awful lot of things. But rest assured, it's all going to be laying on a table where you can now point and say, okay, this is it. And whether it be a circumstantial type of a case where just you put together the totality and it's so overwhelming that there is only one conclusion that a jury can draw, that's probably how this is going to work out. Unless somebody wants to step up and be a man and say, look, here's the deal. This is what happened, and make it better. I can tell you, 25 years of doing this, it always works out for the best, and that's what happens. People aren't going to come, you know the deal, once you've interviewed a lot of people in your career, I'm quite sure, more than a few I would bet. You've been in law enforcement 11, an interview can be as simple as talking to people or traffic stop, right? You know people is my point. And in talking to those people, you pretty much know what happens. You've been around kids before. You know, if you ask them a question and they say something, you know it pretty much right away. Well, that's what I do kind of on steroids. And I mean, it's obvious. Looking at your interviews before, it was already obvious that you're not being truthful about some things. Okay? To me, it was equally obvious that you're not somebody that had a major role in anything that happened as far as her disappearance and meetings. There could be some other issues and factors there. I don't know, but that's my assessment. But when we start talking about her, where she is right now, you know, when somebody fails a polygraph, the reason I did the test like this, you saw that numbers test, right? When I had you write the number 5 and I had you tell me that you didn't write it, and it jumps off the screen that you're telling me the truth. There's areas right off of that list you did the exact same thing. And you know where they are. And what that is a guilty knowledge test. That's what I call it. And what that is your heart and your mind betraying what your body knows to be the truth. My master's degree is in forensic psychophysiology, which means the mind and the body interacting to determine truth in an interview setting. That's what I do. This is actually admissible in court because it's scientifically valid. So when I say you know more than what you told me, I'm not guessing that. Okay? And when I tell you, polygraph, you didn't do well. I don't show people that show. I don't show you. You probably don't care, but just so you know the facts. It's results on your test. Deception indicated. 100%. And then greater than 99. What's greater than 99? 100, right? What are the questions? Do you know where Crystal is right now? Are you hiding any information about what happened to Crystal? Okay. You didn't tell me the truth on both of those questions. So, I mean, I'm telling the truth. I'm not going to sit here and make up a bunch of stuff and try to read techniques with you. We're past that. So the cat's out of the bag as far as your guilty knowledge of what happened here. And, again, I'm not going to play the games with you as the detective doing all the read stuff and everything else. I'm telling you, it's two individuals who know the way investigations work, what the facts are. And the time is now, today, to start fixing this problem. You know, we can talk all about Crystal and how we need to get her a proper burial and her family needs closure and her son needs closure, and all those things are true. But you know that. But you're a realist. You deal with them the today and the going forward. You even kind of said that basically in an interview the other day. people were concerned about why isn't Brooks acting differently with what's happened here? You know, his girlfriend, mother's child is missing, and he's happy-go-lucky, essentially. Well, people react to things in different ways, and I get that. That's why I say your relationship with him is a little different than others. It's a close relationship, but it's different than others might perceive. I'm the same way. That's an introvert's way of dealing with things. Introvert doesn't mean shy. It means you deal with things from an internal locus. We all do. I'm very much that way, so I get that. But that's why I'm not going to go into all these things about getting her a proper burial in the family and getting her back so that her son can visit the grave and all that. We all know that to be true, and you've already thought about that. You're dealing with that internally. What you're dealing with going forward is you, and more importantly, your brother. Your role in this, I'm assuming, because I wasn't out there to see exactly what you did or didn't do.
Was nothing.
Well, I'm not even asking you.
Okay, well, go ahead. I mean,
you did. I've already shown you, so I don't care. I'm not asking you if you did or didn't. You did.
Okay.
And we both know that. It's for a lot. I'm not trying to be punny, but it's crystal clear, right? What happened here. Now, the details of who did what when, can I tell you exactly? No, but I can demonstrably point out through forensic evidence already the things that you told us about where you were at various times are demonstrably not true. We can prove in front of a jury today that you were places that you said you weren't. That's just one example. Okay. Again, I'm not asking for, I'm telling you the facts of what happened. You believe whatever you want about what I'm telling you. But I get paid to be truthful with people. All right? I'm here, my whole point today, when I'm doing a polygraph examination, I'm working for you, I'm working for the person in that chair. This is about a quest for the truth. And we're much closer today to the truth than we were when you first walked in that door. You can deny, and that's fine. That's what people do. It's will. That's what you've done at this point. And it's human nature. You know, when people are asked questions about a matter such as this, they immediately circle the wagons and start to, well, our self-preservation, we all
Man, let me just cut you off. I mean, do we need to take this any further?
I would like to take it to the truth. That's the whole reason we're here.
Is the test, though? I mean, man, you're talking crazy.
Well,
I mean, you're talking crazy.
Was that your rehearsed response to what was going to happen today? Because it sure sounds like it.
I don't know what it sounds like. I'm just telling you.
Well, I'm telling you what it is.
You're talking crazy.
What's crazy about it? Explain to me.
The accusations you're making.
Yeah, I'm saying you were involved in this.
Absolutely not.
Well,
none.
You already told me that. That's why we did the polygraph, to find out. Well, now we both know.
I told you what now?
You told me before you had nothing to do with it. Right?
Yes.
Well, now we're past that, because I've already shown that you did have something to do with it.
I don't know what the test...
I just showed you.
Okay.
I just showed it to you.
But I'm telling you, I did have...
And I'm telling you, you're lying. I mean, I can't make it any... I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I'm just telling you the truth.
That's what I'm doing to you. I'm telling you the truth.
No, you're not. We're past that. I've already shown you.
I've taken the polygraph. Do you have anything else for me? Because, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to go back and forth like this.
You do whatever you want to do. I said I'm not.
I want to cooperate with you. I mean, I'm not here...
Tell me what happened. Tell me what you know.
I don't know anything.
We're past that. You've already shown me that you do.
I know nothing. I'm sorry you...
That's not true. It's not me. I just showed you. I don't even show people their results. I showed you yours.
Man.
And I even went the extra step for you to find out, okay, well, let's try to nail down what you know more about. You know more about this? Who would know? Am I saying that you did it or you didn't? No, I'm just saying you know more than we did. Whether that's a simple conversation with your brother or whether you were physically involved out there, I can't tell you. Either one of those things would explain what I'm seeing. My hunch is it's something that your brother told you.
I don't know anything. He has not spoken with me about this.
Well,
he's my brother.
I'm glad you said that because he probably would know better than to say specific things. So it's a matter then perhaps of what you observed, what you saw other people say. I don't know. I wasn't there. All I'm telling you is objectively, that's what we do. You and I do. That badge on there is what? It's to protect society. That's what SHIELD is, right?
Yes.
That's what we do. And I'm protecting you just as I would anybody else. But at the end of the day, I'm protecting one thing, and that's the truth. And objectively, looking at the facts, even if I were to take this out of the equation, why would somebody, on numerous occasions, in a formal interview, under oath over there, say something they know isn't true? Why would they do that?
Well, you know about me?
Not about you.
Well, I mean, do you think it would have had anything to do with being a little irritated about how things are going? I mean...
Well, that's why you would lie?
I didn't lie.
Well, I'm telling you did. I mean, I can show that already. This is not even...
Tell me about one of the lies.
Well, I can do that unless you're going to help me to understand the reasons behind it. I'm not going to lay out all the evidence that they do or don't have, but I can tell you...
I didn't ask you. I said, tell me about something I've lied about.
That's what we're talking about. In the grand jury, you said places that you were not. Today, when I asked you specifically a moment ago about whether or not you were ever at certain places, and you told me no. Well, I already knew when I asked that question that wasn't true, because I can place you there. Those are just examples.
Are you talking about the video out there in the driveway?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you don't.
But I can promise you that I have been 100% honest with you.
No, that's what everybody, 100% honest. That's just you take read technique stuff. That's what everybody says. I'm 100%, I'm 110% honest. That's not it. Look, there's either the truth or not the truth, right?
And that's what I gave you, the truth.
Well, but you didn't, and I've already shown that. I give you benefit of that before you come in. I'm assuming you're telling me the truth. Look, I treat people the way they treat me. You haven't been an ass with me, and I'm not going to be an ass with you. I'm not that kind of guy. But I'm laying out for you what I've seen here. I can't argue with this. I've done over 2,000 of these. Trust me, when I told you I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing.
You must have slipped up today. I mean, I don't...
What do you think the chances are better that you slipped up and the truth snuck out here, or that I slipped up?
I know you slipped up, but if you're telling me that I failed that test...
I told you in no certain terms you did fail that test.
Well, then the test...
I showed you.
Then it wasn't valid, I mean...
Absolutely valid.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, that's fine, and I'll tell you, I'll even give you that you had nothing to do with it. Okay?
I know for certain.
Purposes here today.
I know for certain I had nothing to do with it, and I know nothing about it.
Well, that I won't give.
Well, I mean, that's
because
just
I've shown that. Look, one of the two things is true. Either you know something, and it could be something relatively insignificant that you haven't told me.
I don't know anything. Absolutely nothing.
Well, then why would you be less than candid with me, with the other interview, and in the grand jury?
There's a reason for that.
But that's what I'm saying. Explain that to me.
I had nothing to do with this, and I don't know anything about it.
No.
You know, just irritation. I mean, that just kind of worked its way into this.
Okay.
You know, I've been 100% honest.
Okay, well, that gets to, maybe that's it. Let me ask you that. All right, I'll give you that. When I ask you if you'd be less than candid, that means less than 100% truthful about things. You said you were irritated. Okay, which I understand. I would be too. True, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Okay. Have I been accused of things in the past that I didn't do? Yeah. Have I been accused of things I did do? Absolutely. Okay. And I've been irritated when I got accused of things I did do because I got caught. And then I got to face up to the consequences. You talk about being irritated in there. Tell me some of the things then. Like, again,
I'm not rehashing all this. I'm just...
No.
I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time.
My time is not wasted if we're here talking.
Listen, I don't know nothing about this.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing at all, and I had nothing to do with it. I don't know anything.
Well,
if I had something to tell you, I would she's got kids.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Why do you think we're here?
Okay, look, I don't know nothing.
Well, something you just
not
said,
even something insignificant.
Clear that up for me, what you just... Because I said, why would you be less than candid with me or the other interview in the grand jury? And you said, why would that be? Because I was irritated. Okay.
Well, being irritated and being put in front of 12 people and accused of stuff like this, I mean, you know, you're going to forget things and not be able to speak as well as you normally would. I mean, there's more to it than you're saying.
Well, that's what I'm asking. That's exactly what I'm asking.
And some of those things you can't explain. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain.
Take your time. Relax. Look, as I said, I'm sitting here. I'm here working for you. If there's stuff to explain it. I will take all day with you to fix it.
And it would take all day to go through all this. I mean,
brother, you're on the clock. You're getting paid, so am I. Give me the thumbnail sketch if you want. Just explain to me what your big concerns are.
I'm not going there.
Why not? It makes no sense.
I'm not going there. Okay.
Well, it's not okay for me.
Well,
look at what we're dealing with here. We're talking about the potential murder of an individual or an accidental death, right?
And if I knew anything, I would help you.
No, but stop. We're going to...
I know where you're going with this, man.
Where am I going?
You're going to just bring all this stuff about Crystal, and, you know, you need to be, you know...
No,
go ahead.
I told you I wouldn't go this whole read technique stuff with you, right? What I'm talking about just is what you just said about explaining it to me so I can understand where you're coming from. You don't have to go through a whole life's history unless you want to. You said that you were irritated and there's things that you don't know, man. That's what you said to me. Help me to understand what some of those things are that I don't understand, that would then make me understand the reason for this. There can be explanations, is my point.
Yeah, I mean, just this whole process, you know, starting from the chief and going down. I'm not going to do that.
But you said there's things I don't know about.
Be shown to him, he'll be irritated, and then he'll be watched. I'm not doing that. It's that simple. I mean,
what do you mean? I'm not understanding.
You ought to be following me, man. If you're as sharp as, if you work for the FBI, you ought to be following me. Okay?
Talk to me like I'm a kid then.
No, I'm not. Okay?
I'm giving you every opportunity.
And I'm telling you no. Okay? I don't know anything about this.
Well, that's okay. That's not what I'm talking about. But you said there's things that I'm not going into it. Explain it.
I'm not going into it. Okay?
Why not?
Because it's not worth going into.
I would think it would be very worth going into.
It's not worth going into.
Why not?
Okay? I'm not talking about it, period.
Why not?
Because I'm choosing not to.
Okay, that's fine. But tell me face to face as a man, I'm not going to tell you the truth. That's all I'm asking.
That's not what I just said.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, then you need to rethink it.
Well, help me to rethink it then. Look,
I'm not going to, listen to me, I'm not going into it, okay? I mean, I'm here to cooperate with your polygraph and all that stuff, and, you know, you can make any kind of notes you want. You can assume that I failed. It didn't bother me.
What is it you haven't told me that's causing you such concern here?
I'm not going into to everything that's happened. You know, I mean...
Like what?
I don't have nothing to do with this. Guys showing up at my house?
Look, this is the first day you and I have met, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have I been anything but cordial with you every day?
And I think I've been the same way with you.
I'm not accusing you of not being.
Okay, there's nothing else to discuss here.
Well,
I mean, if I had something to give you, I would. I don't.
Put yourself in my seat for just a second, okay?
Okay.
And I'm talking to someone who's a family member, essentially, is missing and possibly dead. And you're sitting here, and that individual, who you know nothing about, never met before today, right? But you've seen some interviews where he hasn't been completely truthful about things. Not just kind of, haven't been completely truthful about a couple.
I've been 100% truthful.
Listen to what I'm saying.
You listen to what I'm saying. I've been 100% truthful.
Why are you yelling at me?
Well, because you're telling me I'm lying, and I know I'm not. I know the truth, you know? And I've been 100% honest
the truth.
with you, the grand jury, and everybody else I've spoken with.
No, you haven't. Here's what I'm getting. Well, you just said it.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't.
I most definitely have. And if you don't want to believe it, that's your issue. It's not mine.
It's not just me. I showed you.
Dude, I don't give a goddamn what your fucking computer said. Okay?
I think you do.
I'm telling you that I have been 100% honest with you.
Is this how you act? Does this act this way towards Crystal?
When somebody... Is this how I act toward Crystal? Yeah. I act toward people that accuse me of lying when I'm not lying.
Did she
That's
accuse
how
you
I
of lying?
No, I didn't know Crystal.
Then why are you getting so angry?
Because you're calling me a fucking liar.
No,
That's
I'm just calling you a liar.
Okay?
I'm not cussed you.
I don't like it when people call me a liar. I'm being 100% truthful with you.
There's only the truth or not. What you said.
Dude, why can't you? I'm being truthful.
Look, we're not 2-year-olds, all right?
Okay.
So it's not, yes I am, no I'm not. Yes I am, no I'm not. We're talking, look, I've been nothing but professional with you and trying to help you in this situation.
Other than calling me a liar when I'm not.
Look, if the right thing to do is to tell you you're not being truthful, then I'm going to tell you that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Look, I don't care. Little lies, big lies, they're all the same in terms of the polygraph.
I haven't told any lies.
That's not entirely true.
It is 100% true.
Then help me to figure this out.
Okay.
What you just told me a moment ago, maybe explain it to me so that maybe I misunderstood what you're telling me. But you told me because you were irritated and there's all kinds of things that I don't know about whatever, that I can't understand why you would say the things you said. That's what you told me.
It's just been an experience. Well, all this is going on. You've got guys showing up over at my house, taking cars. I mean, this is crazy.
Okay, but that's what I'm asking about. Are we talking about because of things that have been going on since it's happened, or are you talking about there's things that have gone on over time that I'm not understanding?
No, I'm talking about recently.
Okay, well, how am I supposed to know that if you don't tell me?
Yeah, I mean... This is simple stuff, man. I mean, I have been 100% honest with you, and surely, God, you can understand with people showing up at my house and my family out there taking cars. The neighbors are watching. Man, it's been screwed up.
Of course I can understand.
Okay.
But I wasn't there. How do I know all this?
Well, man, you just assume. I mean, if you were a patrol officer and you got your chief showing up, and I mean, dude, that's crazy.
Look, I've been a professional.
I mean, listen, they come up with all these lies about, well, there's bodily fluid in your car, there's blood. There is no way in hell there is any blood in that car.
I have no idea.
Everybody's told me that. You know, I had to speak with the state police. That's the first thing they said. Okay. Grand jury. I mean, it's crazy.
But I'm not them, right?
Okay, but I'm just saying this is crazy.
It may be. All I'm saying, look, I'm not vouching for all this stuff. The evidence will speak for itself, right?
Sure.
So it really doesn't matter what people want to say or not. The evidence that I've told you about that I can demonstrate are things that we already do have back that I can show. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't think they're anything that paint you in a horrible light. They show discrepancies with what you've said. Well, there may be a very clear reason for that.
There is.
Well, that's all I'm saying. I'm not, look, when I accuse you of lying over here, okay, and lie is a bad one. Nobody wants to hear lie. We've all lied in our lives. I don't care who you are. I have, no doubt about it. We all have. Nobody wants to hear that. But somebody who's telling a lie, it's the same thing as saying they're not being completely truthful, right? Okay, that's a little prettier way of saying it, but it's the same thing. I'm not saying you're so dishonest, you're so this and that. That's not what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is today with you, I have been 100% honest, and I don't know nothing about it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and I'm saying that that's not entirely true, but it could be.
I mean,
but listen to what I'm saying here, okay? You want to get mad in defense about it. Hear what I'm saying, okay?
Go ahead.
Because I'm truthful. I'm going to be completely truthful,
okay,
as I have been. Person would fail a polygraph on the questions that I asked you on a spectrum of issues, whether it be, yeah, you were out there and watched her get shot and killed by somebody. And again, I'm making that up, all right? You would fail if that had happened and you told me you knew nothing about it, right? Obviously. On the far end of the spectrum, if there's something you know about in your mind that you haven't told me or other investigators, could be about as simple as you saw an argument one time, and again, I'm making it up. You saw an argument between Brooks and Crystal a year ago where she pushed him.
They've never been physical with one another.
I'm making it up.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is the bigger picture is you would fail a polygraph on something that simple or something that dramatic. It doesn't matter. It could be anything in between. I'm not assuming it's a worst case. In fact, I'm assuming it's something you just haven't got off your chest with me or someone else. That's all I'm saying. Is it a little more clear what I'm talking about?
It is, but there's nothing on my chest.
Well, but here's the thing, and I think that there is. And again, I'm not assuming that it's something huge and dramatic. It may be. I can't tell you what this thing is going into your brain and telling you this is what you're seeing. That's not what I'm saying. All this does is tells me, do you, not me, do you feel you are being completely truthful or do you not? And it is telling me you do not feel you're being completely truthful. Well, that's okay. Your level of what's truthfulness may be a little different than mine. That's why I take the time to explain what I'm asking and why I'm asking it. So it's clear that when I ask that question, you can confidently say yes or no. Well, obviously, with those two questions in particular, about Crystal and about whether you're hiding any information, there's something that you weren't confident enough to say with 100% certainty. There's some other thing, and it may be a personal family issue, for all I know, that you feel, and frankly, I think it's probably something along those lines, that you feel, well, man, if I tell them that, they're going to think that he's just evil Peter. He did something terrible. I'm not going to think.
If anything stands out in my mind, I'll tell you.
Well, then what, looking back at, when you think about this investigation, and not talking about other investigators or anything else, the investigation and what happened to Crystal and how that's affecting your brother and his child. With all this, when you sit at home at night and you're laying in bed and you think about what's your biggest concern in looking back? Because we all do. We all are analytical in law enforcement. We think about everything that's ever happened, right? And you start assessing this. You may not discuss it with everybody else. I get that. People handle emotions in different ways, especially in traumatic circumstances. I know I do. I'm an internal person. But I guarantee you that means I think about it inside more than I'm talking about it to other people. And what I'm saying is, when you're sitting there at night, you're thinking about it. Maybe you talked to Brooks, but maybe you didn't. What is it? Where's your mind focus on something that you look back at and go, man, maybe that's something that I should have talked to Brooks about, or maybe that's something that might have had something to do with it. Where do you focus? These are just suspicions in your mind, right? But what do you think about? That's what cops do. That's what we do. Where does your mind land at when you think about those?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know Crystal. I didn't know Crystal. I don't really know my nephew. I know that's sad.
I get it.
I mean, I just wasn't around them. I never really saw them argue anything. If they did it away from me. I don't.
Well, that's fine. And if they did argue in front of you, I don't care. I mean, people argue. So what? My point is, if there's things, anyone along that nature, or even a comment that Brooks has made before or after she went missing, that may cause you some pause in your mind, that may be enough, potentially, to cause you to have an issue on the polygraph. It's just, I can't put words, I don't know what you know. I only know, do you believe you're being truthful or not? And you don't feel you're being 100% truthful, as you said. Maybe you're being 99 now, I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I mean, if I did, I'd tell you. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I can't just make something up, and throw it at you. I mean,
I ask you to. That's why I'm asking you just to tell me the truth and what you... See, the way this works, suspicions don't do anything. Wondering, thinking, oh, gosh, I don't know, what could it be that has nothing to do with it. you only respond in the way you do, the physiological signature of somebody who's thinking about this specific thing, which means in your mind, and again, I have no idea what that thing is. It could be something horrible, it could be something very explainable. But only you know what that is. And that's what I'm getting at, is try to get you to just say, this is the thing that I was thinking about, I had some concerns about. And at that point, I'm going to, okay, well, that probably explains what I'm seeing here. And again, it's not going to be a big deal. It's what we do. When people initially say, I don't know nothing about nothing, and it turns out as they're sitting later tonight, they go, okay, I do know a little bit about something, but it's probably not important, but I've told you I don't know anything, so if I tell you this, you're going to think I'm lying to you. Well, that's not the case.
Man, nothing stands out. I mean, I wish I could come up with something, but I can't. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I've been 100% truthful with you. You know, I mean, I can't think of any examples. They never gotten, I don't think Brooksville's ever got physical with her. I really didn't see them argue. I mean, I ain't got nothing to give you.
Well, and I'm glad to say it, because everything from what little I've talked to people about Brooks in particular, about you too, there's not a history of violence and that kind of stuff. There's been no domestic accusations, nothing like that. Which means that whatever happened here was likely, you know, again, I hesitate to use the word accident, but it was, I say, unintended, because people can get pushed and shoved, and I don't know, I haven't even seen her. How big is she? She's not real big, is she?
maybe 150 pounds or something.
Yeah, well, to me that's big, but he's bigger than she is.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And men being men, women, they get hot-headed, and they start pushing and shoving and screaming and throwing tantrums and all that stuff. Not all, I hate to throw a blanket, but a lot do. And all I'm saying is, in those situations, if it's a situation where she got mad and she pushed or shoved and he defended he's not going to hit a woman, it could be as simple as, in the course of that, she fell and hit her head on something. For all I know. Again, I'm making up, I don't know. But in those circumstances, that's a real easy answer to what's occurred here. Again, we're going to find it. We're going to know exactly what happened.
Sure, no doubt.
But the time to hear about those things, what actually happened out there, is before we get to that.
I wish I could lead you there, but I can't. I've got nothing for you.
Okay.
I don't know where she's at. We didn't have nothing to do with it. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. I mean, I don't know, you know, if you watch the grand jury testimony or my interview with the state police, I mean, you know, sometimes I don't speak well. Like, a lot of times when I go to court, I've got my report in front of me. I read word for word. I just don't remember all that stuff. And then you put 12 people in front of you, and they start asking you a bunch of silly questions.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff just blanks out. I mean, I don't respond well to that.
I get that. I don't like speaking in front of groups, period. Even 12 people in jury. I hate testifying. It's what we got to do. But I'm also a student of people. That's what my master's degree is. So when I watch the interviews, I don't just listen, but I listen to what's being said, how it's being said, statement analysis, kinesics, physiology, what people are doing in the room. And you could turn off the sound in some of those interviews and see spots where an objective interviewer would point and go, you're not being completely truthful right there. Well, I did leave the sound on, so I listened to some of those spots. Again, I don't think they're huge critical issues, and it may be as simple as what you said earlier, that because of irritation and accusations, you just decided you're not going to tell people about whatever, fill in the blank.
Well, it's not that I didn't tell them. It's just that, you know, a lot of that stuff I didn't remember, you know. Okay. And I'm not going to start making stuff up or tweak it in any way. Yeah. I'll just straight up tell you I don't remember. If I don't, I'm not going to make something up.
Absolutely, I get that. And I'm not. I wouldn't want you to say something that you didn't know. I mean, if you do that, you're lying by definition.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is, I mean, we all look politicians. Hillary Clinton is a prime example, right? And I'm older than you, but looking back in the Whitewater days, way back when, she was interviewed, her husband was interviewed. So we use those as studies in interview interrogation.
Yeah,
and what do they say more often than any other? What's the phrase they use?
I don't know. I'm not up to date.
That's actually what they say, but they say I don't recall.
Oh, I see.
And when it's clear that they do. And so, and I'm not saying that's not the case with you, but when you hear I don't recall, it tends to raise flags with people that are investigatively asking questions, right? The truth may be you don't recall, but that's certainly a viable option. But when you couple those statements with all the other things going on in the room, and then when in some of those instances, not all, but there were a few, where we can physically say, well, no, but he just said, when you didn't say I don't recall, you said I was here or I was not there. And they asked you several times, were you ever there? You said no. And we can show, well, yeah, here's the evidence that shows you were there.
If you're talking about the vehicles in the driveway, then they harped on that and harped on it.
I'm not talking about that.
I mean, they must have asked that question 10 times. I mean,
we
may have been, I don't know.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, as far as that, I think at the end of the day, you were, you changed your answers up some with that to be as truthful as I think you could be. When you said, no, I don't think we were there, and so I don't think, and ultimately we have, and we could have been, well, we can show whether you were or weren't there. I mean, that's simple. So whether you recall or not, you were, so I don't care. But what I'm talking about are other times that I haven't given you the evidence on here today. I've asked you questions about where you were or where you were not, and you were definitive. It wasn't, well, I don't think it was. I couldn't have been. It was no, absolutely not. Okay. Well, and again, it's not a huge issue in the grand scheme of things in terms of you being in a certain spot or not being there. But if I already know the answer to that, the truth, the ground truth, as we say in polygraph, and you're saying something other than what I know I can prove, it raises questions in my mind.
That's not happening.
Well, but it is my point.
Okay, whatever.
It is. My point in that is...
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you've heard, but I'm just telling you, I didn't do it. I don't know nothing about it.
You did.
I don't know anything about it. My brother, and I can tell you, I know him well enough, he didn't do it. It's just the way it is. I mean,
have you ever known somebody that you said wouldn't do something and it turns out they did?
I'm sure I have, but it wasn't my brother.
That's right. So you're choosing to believe
because I know him real well.
I understand.
Yes,
well, look,
yes, I am.
And if it's my brother, I'm gonna feel the same way.
Okay.
My point being is just because you feel that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel 100%. Not 96, not 98. I mean, there's just no. This is crazy. He would not have done that.
But what you're saying is you believe him. At the end of the day.
Well, it's not that I believe him because I haven't questioned him about it. You know, I haven't. That's
why would.
Because I know him well enough, I don't have to ask him that question.
Okay. Well, I guess what I'm asking really is this: not. I don't think I would ask my brother if he did it or didn't either. I don't think I would. But what I would do as an investigator, is you as a police officer, if she's missing, and you believe you had anything to do with it, I would investigate or want to question him and say, look, what do you think happened here? How do we find her? How do we get her back? What do you want me to do about this? You know, that kind of thing. Those are conversations I have had with my family, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why you haven't had those kinds of conversations. Or maybe you have.
We've talked briefly about it.
Well, talk to me a little bit about those conversations then.
I mean, I don't really remember word for word. We've spoken very little about it.
You're not on
I'm not investigating it. I mean, a lot of people have asked why we're not out there looking with our family members jumping out in the road giving us stuff. I'm not going to get out in the woods and have somebody end up threatening me or something. Then I've got to do something silly.
But what I'm asking is, you're not under oath here or anything. I'm not asking you to remember specifically what was. I'm just talking in generalities. Tell me about, were the conversations like what I just described? Hey, what's going on? What do you think happened? How can I help?
I mean, I don't remember those. I mean, I'm not going to start making stuff up, and I'm just not going to do it.
Let me ask this then. If you're me here, maybe reasons, would it not strike you extremely odd that as police?
I just think things get screwed up. You know, I'm not going there. I mean, it's that
Wouldn't
simple.
you want to help him find her?
Of course I want to help find her. I want her to walk in. I want her to walk in his door right now. You don't clear this whole mess up, you know?
Absolutely. But for that point, that's what I'm saying. Didn't you ask him, hey, what can I do to help?
I mean, we really haven't been around a lot, around each other a lot, We've been up there to the farm a few times. Both of us are just incredibly busy. I didn't know Crystal, He's dealing with this. I'm not gonna stress him out about it.
Yeah, but aren't you gonna help?
Of course I want to help, but
that's what I'm getting at.
But what can we do,
That's what you ask him. What can I do?
There's nothing we can do,
She's just gone.
I mean, hopefully, like I said, she'll show up any minute, and if not, obviously you guys are going to find her at some point. Find out how she was killed. Is there evidence under her fingernails? All this stuff, and it's not going to point toward him or me.
Who would it point to?
Well, how would I know that?
That's what I'm asking you.
I'm not investigating the crime. I don't know.
Do you have any suspicions of anybody?
I do not. I didn't hang around Crystal. I don't know her husband. I don't know her ex-husband. I don't know those people. If I had anything to throw out at you, I'd do it.
Would you?
Most definitely.
What about other investigators?
What about them?
Would you tell them?
I would tell other investigators. I don't too much care for John Snow, but the rest of them, I don't have a problem with them.
Okay.
State Police, Mike Kaminsky's a good guy. Ed Mattingly's a good guy.
Okay. You met? I don't know. Is it Detective Snow? Is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know him other than.
He's just admitted. He's openly admitted that he lies in court. And I just can't deal with a guy like that.
Okay. Did he admit that to you or something?
He admitted it to a bunch of us over in the squad room. Hell, there was half a dozen of us over there.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to get between a guy like that and my brother. I mean, I know he had nothing to do with it, but I don't want things to get screwed up either.
Well, I agree.
You know, I want this done right.
I think we all do. Would there be a reason that Brooks would say that he did discuss asking you for any help on this matter?
No, there's no way he said that. No reason, no way, 100% not.
Okay. I know they asked you about it, but I know when he was being interviewed, you called and basically paraphrased.
Yeah, he was with John Snow. He was with John Snow for hours. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I called up there. Brooks is a really cooperative guy. He's honest. You know, and I just basically, I didn't tell him to leave. I told him, I said, you go ahead and finish up your, he was giving a narrative or whatever, a statement.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's fine to give that. I said, say what you mean what you say. You know, I asked him, I said, are they screwing you around? They asked you the same questions, a bunch of different ways. Because he'd been up there for hours. This wasn't no 1 or 2 hours. He may have been up there like 3 hours or 4 hours. It'd been a while. And I figured John was screwing him around, and I just wanted to find out what was going on up there. So that's all that was about. If they want to read more into it, that's up to them, you know.
I'm just asking you just because
yeah, he was with John Snow, period.
Was that the same interview when Ryan from State Police was there too?
I don't have any idea if Ryan was here. I know Ryan and another guy interviewed me, but I don't think that the State Police have interviewed Brooks.
Okay.
There was a bigger guy. He was probably about, I don't know, blonde hair, short, kind of a heavier set guy, maybe about my height, 250, 240, something like that. And then there was Ryan Johnson was with him. So.
Okay. You ever seen Brooks lose his temper?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. What about in those rare occasions when you did?
I tell you, I can't even think of an example where he's just went off the, you know, I mean, every once in a while he may, you know, mess up on a house or something like that, you know, but, I mean, Brooks just, he's a pretty calm, laid-back dude. He's not, you know, I mean, he doesn't take medication. He is level-headed.
Okay.
I mean, he keeps up with about 100 rental property. He builds 8 or 10 houses all the time. I mean, he's just...
He's younger than you.
He's younger than me.
Does he kind of look up to you?
I think a lot of times Brooks thinks he's over me, you know? I mean, it just depends.
Is he a leader or a follower?
I think both of us somewhat are leaders.
Okay. What about when the two of you are together? Who's the leader? Not what both of you, realistically.
I don't know. I'm not going to say.
Fair enough. That's why I asked.
I don't want to put him down.
That tells me that makes you the leader, so I understand. What else haven't we talked about that might clear this up?
If I knew, I'd tell you.
Would you?
Yes.
If there was something that you knew would be helpful, but you felt you were not comfortable telling me or someone else, would you look me in the eye and say, there's some other stuff, but I prefer not to talk to you about it?
You saying one of the detectives here and then just call you?
No, you mean right now as I'm talking, if there are other things that you do know about that you're just simply not comfortable talking to me about, would you look me in the eyes now and tell me there's some other things, but I would just assume you don't want to?
Yeah, I'd tell you that. I'd straight up tell you that.
And are there some other things you would just assume not discuss with me?
No.
Okay. Anything else I have not asked you about today that in any way could be helpful?
No.
Think I've treated you fairly today?
I think you have.
I've been professional with you?
Yes, sir.
Have you yelled or screamed or cussed at you?
No.
Have you yelled or screamed or cussed at me?
A little bit.
Okay. And I understand that, okay?
Okay.
All right. we'll step back out, we'll grab Brian here, and I'm assuming we'll get you back to work here.
Sounds good to me.
All right, appreciate you coming in.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not really.
That gets into weird territory because, one, we don't have enough facts, and it starts to sound like we're accusing people of things we really don't know.
Right, and I have no idea. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I don't know what is happening. I do know that, and this is the bad thing. I hope that it is Crystal Rogers' remains that they found, but there are other people that it could be.
Yeah, there are, and that's
where it's sort of like, this is a small town. How is this happening?
This is Sherry out of dispatch. We have a squad call for a coroner. I will believe we have one of our officers down.
What happened?
We're not sure exactly what happened. He got off at 2, and the next thing we know, we're getting a call on the radio from a passerby.
Is it a car accident?
We don't know. Some passersby got on his radio and kept saying, "Officer down, officer down."
All we know is it was a Bardstown City police officer.
How much lighting you got on the trucks?
I don't know how much you think.
Quite a bit. We've had an officer killed.
Oh, my God.
He died in the county?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Who was it?
Jason
We
Ellis.
think it's Jason Ellis.
Jason Ellis.
Don't cry to me, don't cry to me. You've seen things you shouldn't see. You've been wrong the same as me. Don't cry to me.
The officers were silent. Everything was quiet. The police tape was around the scene, and I walked up, and the sheriff at the time was there, and one of the troopers, and I said, "What's? Tell me something." And you know, he said it's Ellis, and he's gone.
The police chief walked the scene, wanting answers.
And I said, "What the hell happened?" And I remember saying, "I don't know." I said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And they said, "We don't know."
Investigators engrossed themselves in the scene as the sun began to rise. Eventually determining the officer was ambushed, the killer strategically placing debris in his path.
They pulled out the branch so that he would be forced to stop his car and then enter just the right angle so they could get the shot off.
Multiple shots tore through his torso, the officer assassinated. And then his brothers in blue had to tell his wife.
It was in the middle of the night, and they knocked on the door. And just, yeah, it was like an out-of-body experience. I mean, your worst nightmare coming true, and it's devastating.
She had questions, but no one had answers. No one's had answers since the day he died.
What could I have done as chief? Or could I have done anything differently? Maybe nothing. But this will be the darkest hour of my whole career.
He was greatly loved. He'll be greatly missed. May we make it part of our own life's mission to ensure that he is never forgotten.
Every morning, the sun rises above Bardstown.
It's so hard.
Just like the day before, just like the days to come.
He was just my world.
For Tommy Ballard, the sun rose for the final time on November 19th, 2016.
You know, I have people tell me that God has a plan for everything and everything happens for a reason. I don't know that I believe that. Why would God want my husband to be murdered?
Days before Thanksgiving, Tommy and his grandson got into his red pickup truck. Heading to the family property, it was an early morning hunting trip. Sherry Ballard saw them out the door.
And I remember going back to my bedroom, and on the way to the bed, you know,
I just said, God, look over them in the woods today. And I said it out loud, you know. I guess I was talking to God out loud, and I laid back down. And it was probably 25 minutes maybe, I got the phone call.
A phone call from her frantic grandson.
And he was so upset, and he's like, Mama, Papa's been shot. I was panicking, you know, I was trying to throw my clothes on and get ready, and I went in the bathroom. I told Trenton, I said, I'm gonna call 911.
Calling for help and then racing through red lights, Sherry was desperate to be by her husband's side.
And I ran over and I knelt down to Tommy, and I shook him. And I just begged him to get up. He was just laying there.
In the middle of his property, a property he knew so well, Sherry shook her husband.
I mean, there was no blood, no nothing. So I kept shaking him. And the last time I shook him, he had blood come out of his nose. And that's when they pulled me off of him. I know he was gone when I got there, but it didn't hit me. I didn't realize that. It's still hard for me to realize that today.
Kentucky State Police swarmed the scene as Ballard friends and family lined the drive. A single shot through Tommy's chest ended his life. At first, officers called it a hunting accident, and Sherry called that a disgrace.
This is my husband, and this is a murder, and you know it. And you're saying it's a hunting accident? No, I'm not okay with that.
Kentucky State Police tell us they are investigating Tommy's death as a homicide. But in the 3 years since he was shot and killed, they have not shared any updates about the investigation. Meanwhile, police have named a main suspect in his daughter Crystal Rogers' case, and that's Brooks Houck. Tomorrow night at 6, we take you inside that investigation. For the Unsolved team, I'm Shay McAllister.
If you wander off too far, my love will get you home. If you follow the wrong star, my love will get you home.
My daughter didn't deserve nothing that happened to her.
This property is the last property that she was seen at, as far as we've been told.
If Crystal's out there and can see us, we're hunting for you.
My love will get you home.
I'm sorry. Just give me a minute. I should be used to this, but Crystal was my first. She weighed 4 pounds and 12 ounces when she was born.
Her parents' pride and joy, and eventually a mother of her own. Crystal had 4 children before meeting boyfriend Brooks Houck.
We were very picky parents, I won't lie. We wanted what was best for our daughter. And all the other relationships we didn't think were best for our daughter. So when she met Brooks, I think she saw the opportunity, not knowing where that was going to lead her down the road.
Crystal and Brooks shared a home and together had a son. The couple and their toddler were together the last night Crystal was known to be alive.
Supposedly they went to the farm and they walked back in the field to feed the cows. My daughter's not going to walk back in the field in the pouring down rain, especially with her baby. I just don't see her doing that. And then they left the farm and went back home, and Brooks went to bed, and Crystal was still up on her phone, and Eli was running around playing, and supposedly she was not there when he got up. She was just gone.
Gone. But Sherry Ballard says Brooks didn't tell anyone his girlfriend was missing. Sherry didn't know her daughter was missing until days later.
And when it was Sunday and she still hasn't called, I started panicking.
Sherry and her husband, Tommy, rushed to the Nelson County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report. While they waited for word of Crystal, they got a call about her car.
Her brother called me and said that they had found her vehicle in the Bluegrass Parkway.
Crystal's keys, purse, and phone were inside.
So we all went out to the BG where they found her car, and we stayed there until they took her car away. And then that night we got up a search, and we were out till like 3 o'clock in the morning searching the farm that backed up to the BG where they found her car.
Sherry says Brooks never helped the family search.
I found it odd that he didn't go to the sheriff's department with me and place the report with me. He didn't do anything.
Walking through woods, ponds, and fields, the family was discouraged when weeks went by with no sign of Crystal.
I'm kind of facing reality. I don't want to believe it, but I feel like she's not here.
And then October brought some answers. When the former Nelson County Sheriff announced Brooks Houck was the main suspect in Crystal's disappearance.
It makes me feel a little better, but we still haven't found Crystal.
And then the sheriff added, he's not sure the family ever will.
She has vanished from Earth, and I think it's safe to say that she's dead.
Investigators said it boldly. The missing mother was assumed dead and her boyfriend the main suspect in her case. But that boyfriend, Brooks Houck, wasn't charged. And now, 4 years later, he's never been charged. And Crystal has never been found. Tomorrow night at 6, our investigation continues as another tragedy takes hold of the Ballard family and turns their life upside down. For the Unsolved team, I'm Shay McAllister.
Federal agents spent much of the day Friday here at the Houck family farm. It's about 260 acres. We don't know exactly what they have collected, but on the other side of town, a big piece of evidence was taken. News spread around Bardstown quick this week that the FBI was in town to serve 9 federal warrants.
But it has been quite the buzz. Oh, yes, it's been pretty wild around here lately. So.
Josh Bunch, a pastor in Bardstown, spent his Friday frying up 600 pounds of fish.
Kind of a fixture of our community.
A normally busy place on Fridays, 9 months out of the year. Most people know this is the Fish Church. On Friday, something across the street caught his eye.
Oh, just a flurry of activity.
FBI agents at this storage unit, loading up the maroon Chevy that belonged to Crystal Rogers onto a tow truck and driving it off. Family members watching it all, and others from the community like Corey Miller.
I appreciate the FBI coming in with the increased police presence. I think it'll help finish this case for the family and to bring justice.
With 150 federal and state agents in town serving 9 warrants this week, people in Bardstown are hopeful they'll get some sort of an answer in this case.
It's been extremely hard. You know, it's constantly weighed on this community. I've seen people talk about it everywhere you go.
On the other side of town at the Houck family farm, federal agents were still combing the land. A few miles away, remains found at an embankment on the Nelson-Washington County line late last month. The FBI has not confirmed who the remains belong to.
This is something that obviously the whole community is deeply concerned about, and a lot of people know this family.
The FBI says they plan to be here throughout the weekend. We'll bring you any updates if there are any developments. In Bardstown, Taylor Durden, Wave 3 News.
Investigators are hoping newly released surveillance photos will lead to more information in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. The FBI released 2 new photos showing 2 vehicles of interest in the Rogers case. FBI spokesperson Tim Beam said the drivers of the vehicles may have important information related to her disappearance. Rogers was reported missing by her mother 5 years ago. The only suspect ever named was her boyfriend at the time, Brooks Houck, with whom she shares a child.
I've waited 5 years for this.
Sherry Ballard finally got her wish last week when the FBI took over as lead investigator in her daughter Crystal Rogers' disappearance, a move she hopes will finally lead to some answers.
Maybe deep down I'm scared of what I'm going to find out, but at the same time, I want to know.
More than 150 agents raided several properties in Bardstown Thursday, including the home of Roger's then-boyfriend, Brooks Houck.
The fact that it was actually happening was kind of unreal to me. But at the same time, it was like God answered my prayers.
The new action in the case came just a week after human remains were found on the Nelson County line.
I pray that it is my daughter. And at the same time, I turn around and I feel guilty because I prayed for that.
Ballard says the last 5 years without answers have been tough. The loss of her husband only added to it after he was shot while hunting. But Ballard's quest for justice has kept her going.
I promised my husband and daughter that I would do everything in my power to get them justice, and that's just what I have to do.
The FBI page dedicated to the case has already generated a number of new tips. Several of them brought agents here to this subdivision. Federal agents spent Monday evening interviewing people who live on Lookout Court in the Valley View Estates in Bardstown. One of them was Angela Brady. She believes it's more about who used to live on this street that drew agents there. Brooks Houck's sister.
About 4 or 5 houses down.
Brady says she moved about 3 years ago, but wasn't at all surprised when she saw the FBI on her evening walk.
They've been to all the other areas, so why not this one? It's Houck related. I just wish they could have gotten here sooner. I think they could have uncovered a whole lot, and I hope they still can.
As for Ballard, she hopes the renewed interest in the case continues to bring in new leads.
Bardstown's a small town. People were scared before. You know, they didn't know who to trust, who not to trust. Well, this is the FBI. You know, you can come forward, and I just beg them to do that.
Thanks for joining us. You can reach us at 252-365-5593 or at truecrimexcess.com or truecrimexcess@gmail.com if you want to send us a note. This episode was brought to you by LabrottieCreations.com. That's LabrottieCreations.com. Check out the merchandise and specifically their fun Pop Pet art custom pieces made from photos of your very own pets. Use the promo code CRIMEXS, that's CRIMEXS, for 20% off a fun, brightly colored, happy piece of art of your own pet at their site, LabrottieCreations.com. Music in this episode was licensed for True Crime XS. The theme song was Indestructible by Noah Smith. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform or at TeePublic, Instagram, or Twitter. You can also join us on Patreon to fund future body exploration trips. But the best thing you can do for us is leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and share us with your friends. We'll see you soon.
This is True Crime XS.
Well, in the way of updates, so there's two. I think I'm gonna have to do an episode on something that happened this summer surrounding a case that Meg got sucked into. And I've been debating how to do it because I wanted to just cover the case. But the truth is the prosecutors sort of take the wind out of that. That's another podcast I think people should be listening to. They did something interesting with one of the other updates, but they covered a case that Meg went down a month-long rabbit hole. And it's sort of rare for that to happen, for her to go that far down at the end, kind of shake her head and say, I'm not doing that. So I think I'm going to cover that part of it. Like, I'm going to cover it from the perspective that, like, some things should not be out in the world the way they are, which is weird to do that with a case that shouldn't be out in the world. But, you know, it's part of what True Crime Excess is. So I got down this rabbit hole on Maura Murray. I've had this theory that I have agreed not to talk about publicly with, Meg thinks it sounds crazy. It probably is. But my theory there involves another missing persons case that isn't timed exactly with hers. And there's a very specific reason I've had an interest in that. There's this huge community around her case. And I've sort of been ambivalent about how she might or might not tie to Israel Keys, because people sort of shake their head and go, oh, that's not possible. But the truth is, it is possible. And in trying to prove my other theory that Keys was not related to it, I came across a bizarre series of arson fires in the week leading up to her disappearing. And you can track them on a map. They're really interesting. They go from, they're huge, first of all. Like, they're not small arson fires. They take someone really set out on destroying a thing. And this came about in the course of plotting out a television show. I say television, but streaming video version of True Crime XS. I'm plotting that out, and I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to prove or disprove this Maura Murray theory. I was not looking for Maura Murray when I did it, but in the back of my mind, I've reached out to a few of those people over the years, and I sort of asked a couple of questions to see if they're interested in talking to me. The questions I ask have real obvious answers, but if they engage, then I talk to them. If they don't, I don't. That's the people that host other podcasts and do other things surrounding Maura Murray. They don't even know that it's me, and I don't inject myself into that case. I got this idea to prove the other idea, and it was like, okay, what if somebody really died? What if there really was an obituary for someone that she could say there was a death? Now, Meg thinks no. That's the way that she could get the most time off from what she was doing, which is probably accurate. But I was just thinking, what if it's this other thing? So I went hunting down that trail, and that's when I stumbled across. So what that involves, when you go back that far in time, that's 16 years, you go back to 2004, you're going to find internet records in the big papers. But when you're really deep in a rabbit hole, you're in paid subscriptions of essentially what is internet microfiche. I don't even know if people know what that is anymore. But you're going through small town newspapers, one page at a time. And I was going through specifically looking for obituaries. And I started with Burlington, Vermont. That was my thought process, was I'm going to go and, she's supposedly looking at Burlington, and there's been rumors of Stowe. So I'm going to go down this Maura Murray rabbit hole, and I'm going to look through all the obituaries, and I'm going to see if any of them tie back to this other missing persons case in some way. And there was a really specific reason that she would not have told anyone about that. And I was like, okay, I could buy that. If that were the case, and this is how she went missing with this other person, no one would know. She would hide it on purpose. It sort of explains a lot of things if that were to have happened. And again, not stating that part of it publicly, just saying that's the rabbit hole I went down. Where I end up in all of that is there's a radar base up in St. Albans, Vermont. This base has a fire the week before she goes missing. It's not a small fire. It's a lot of buildings, and it's a lot of footprint that go by. Well, then I track that down, and there's a couple of little house fires. And then there's a fire department that catches on fire. And I was like, well, that's ironic. What I realized was I had seen this pattern elsewhere. I have seen this pattern at other places and times tied to other missing persons cases and other things. And where I've seen that pattern is in my Israel Keys research. So I was marking up, like I said, the video version of places to go. And there's 2 big cases in that area and then 2 small cases in that area. So it's been on my list to put a treatment together for an episode for a long time. And I was actually trying to dispel any connection between Israel Keys and Maura Murray, because that is sort of ludicrous that they would both be tied. Those are 2 of the biggest mysteries of our age. And in trying to dispel it, I may have actually connected the 2 of them. So that's one of the things I'm working for in the video version, is to hunt through the rest of it, because there's another part of this equation that I'm going to have some assistance on. And that is there were robberies that were happening as well. That year was a really weird year for the area around where she went missing. You have to draw like a 180-mile circle and look at the whole thing. And it's like really, it's bizarre because some of those cases didn't get solved, but they got closed. And the way that they got closed was they were lumped in with other things. So basically, they catch a couple people, they're doing home invasions, they sort of get them for stick-up robberies, or they catch someone for a bank robbery and they sort of lump them in for 3 or 4 and say, hey, if these are yours, you take them, you get a lesser sentence. And they did, and they closed cases that way. So going back in time 16 years, I can't ask anyone to relitigate it or put the resources in to reinvestigate it without proving it myself. But when I saw the arsons, the series of arsons, it set something off in my brain. So now Meg's just coming out of her rabbit hole on the case that I have to cover elsewhere. But that's my Israel Keys update is there's a series of arson fires that have to be taken seriously up there. And they have to be looked at because they're unusual arson fires. So right back down that rabbit hole I go.